Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. The goddess signed in for a year, and I turned over. Chapter 1. Mutton skewers, a bunch of dollars, don't pay for it if it's not delicious. Parallel world, Wa Country, Chongqing City, outside a lively university town, at 10 o'clock in the evening, a young man in his 20s, holding skewers in his hand, grilling on the stove, shouted. Handsome guy, how many strings? Beauty, let's try a bunch of chance, it's not delicious and don't need money. This is the busiest snack street in the entire university city. Starting around 6 o'clock every evening, there are many small bosses pushing tricycles and various signature snacks here to start a day of business. Lu Yunqi is also a member of this army of stalls. He mainly sells barbecue here. Because it has just started, the business is not very good. Since 6 o'clock in the afternoon, he has only sold dozens of dollars. He is not a person in this world himself, but from the soul of the earth to this world, he just passed through more than 3 years ago, is still a senior student. Seeing that he was about to graduate, but because his girlfriend at the time was harassed by Counselor X, Lu Yunqi gave the counselor a big beating. As a result, because of this incident, he didn't even get his college diploma. The parents who worked so hard to train him to go to college were so angry that both of them were farmers. In order to allow him to go to college, he spent all his family savings. Still owed a lot of money to relatives. Later, the girlfriend broke up with him and went abroad. Lu Yunqi started to work odd jobs in Yudu, earning money to pay off his family's debts. After 2 years of apprenticeship in a barbecue restaurant, he came here to set up a stall, wanting to make more money. Boss, grill me a soury, slightly spicy. Howla. After finally waiting for a guest, Lu Yunqi began to work very seriously. At this moment, on the highway 200 meters away from his barbecue booth, a Mercedes-Benz luxury car was parked. A beautiful woman with black straight hair in the car looked at the busy figure of Lu Yunqi, and glanced at the assistant next to him. Asked, he has been selling barbecue here? Yes, miss. The assistant returned. The woman didn't listen to what the assistant behind said. She opened the door of the car and walked towards Lu Yunqi's barbecue stall. Stepping on high heels, he came to the barbecue booth and carefully looked at the man in front of him. Beauty, you want something to eat? Can't forget the delicious Lu Jie brand barbecue. Let's have a skewer. Lu Yun, who was busy roasting soury for customers, looked up and saw two beauties approaching, and said with a smile. Said. No. The woman held a piece of paper between her breath, her tone was very cold, and continued, let's talk. Huh. Lu Yunqi let out a surprised voice. After wrapping the soury from the previous guest, he seriously looked at the woman in front of him. A black hair is pulled up high, a black professional suit skirt, a perfect figure set off the unevenness, a thin layer of black stockings on the slender legs, a pair of silver white tiled high heels, between the eyebrows it exudes a cold breath, like a queen high above. Sorry, it smells a bit big. Lu Yunqi looked at the woman holding her nose with a tissue, a little embarrassed, and curious, do we know each other? How much can you sell for a day? The woman asked instead Lu Yunqi. Oh, this, if the business is good, you can sell it for a few hundred yuan. Lu Yunqi replied honestly. Although he didn't know why this woman was here, chatting with beautiful women was also a joy matter. Give him 1,000 yuan. The woman looked at the assistant next to her and gave an order. Then she looked at Lu Yun and said coldly, follow me. Hey, beauty, what do you mean? I only sell barbecues, not people. Lu Yun started. 3 years ago, the backstreet bar. The woman may not be able to bear the smell of oily smoke here, so she left directly after speaking, leaving her assistant here to wait for Lu Yun to rise. When Lu Yunqi heard these words, his whole body trembled as if he had been electrocuted. 3 years ago, on the night when his girlfriend proposed to get on the plane to go abroad after breaking up, he went to a bar accompanied by a few buddies to get drunk. In fact, his alcohol volume was not good, and he was dizzy before he had a few drinks. I don't know what year it is like this eve. Because a few of the buddies were drinking, not a few of them were sober-minded, so when he went back, no one noticed that Lu Yun rose and fell behind. He couldn't remember what happened later, but only vaguely remembered that he seemed to ran into a woman who was also drunk in front of the bar. When he woke up the next day, he actually lay in the hotel room with a sleeping woman beside him. It seems that he is not very old, he is only in his 20s. It didn't take long for the woman to woke up too, looked at Lu Yun with a complicated look, and then left a sentence, "I hope everyone forgets what happened last night and never see you again." After that, she completely disappeared from Lu Yunqi. In the world. In 3 years, the two had never seen each other again, but after the woman left, Lu Yun stared at the red on the bed sheet blankly for a while. It was the first time for that woman, and so was he. Although he had a girlfriend before, he held hands and kissed at most. I don't know if it's because he suddenly changed from a boy to a man. Lu Yunqi was still depressed for a while. Although it was only a spring breeze with that woman, he still had a glimmer of hope in his heart, in case one day meets arrived. But when the day came, Lu Yunqi was a little panicked. After a struggle between heaven and man, Lu Yunqi still followed the assistant to the side of the road where the woman was. "Look at this document." The woman found a place with better light, took out a document and handed it to Lu Yunqi and said lightly, "Oh." Not knowing whether it was because of the hope in his heart before, or some special reason, Lu Yunqi nodded honestly and took the file. When he saw the bold words, "Marriage Agreement," on the front page of the document, his eyes widened and he was extremely shocked, but he was more curious. This woman actually wanted to marry herself. "I haven't figured it out yet, okay. You go down first." After the woman distracted the assistant, she looked at Lu Yun and said lightly, "After that night 3 years ago, I found out that I was pregnant. Now the baby is more than 2 years old, and the child needs a complete family. I need dad, so I came to marry you." Lu Yunqi still had a lot of questions in his heart. His eyes quietly looked at Qi Xuanxuan's deep pupils, wanting to see something in her eyes, and after a while he said, "Why did you choose me?" "Because you are the child's biological father." Qi Xuanxuan lazily embraced her shoulders with her hands, and said coldly. But, just when Lu Yun looked suspicious and wanted to continue to inquire, an inexplicable voice suddenly sounded in his mind. "Ding, congratulations to the host for successfully finding a destined marriage, Dad sign in and the system is opening. System binding successfully. As long as the host completes different tasks every day, he can get a steady stream of various rewards. System novice task release. Sign a marriage agreement, reward life skills, God-level cooking. Target person. Name, Qi Xuanxuan, President of Haochen Group. Gender, female. Age, 24 years old. Face value, 98. Freshness, 99. Note, this refers to private life. Favorite degree to the host, 70. System, Goldfinger. Is it still a sign-in system for a male god and dad? Ha 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 ha. God thief, I have been in this world for 3 years, do you finally think of me? For an old bookworm of 2 generations, he naturally knows that this system is his own weapon to open up his life, and from then on all the way to the peak of his life. At this moment, Lu Yunqi suddenly felt that he must have guessed the shit when he went out today. Not only did Bai Fumei take the initiative to marry herself, but also got the long-lost gold finger. Now he just wants to yell, "Mom, my peak life has begun." It seems that the system has not been turned on before, and it turns out that I haven't encountered this woman who was destined in life. To say that when I saw Qizan again, I was a little inferior. Now that he has the system, Lu Yunqi feels that as long as he gives himself time, he can perfectly control this cold goddess. However, he still had many questions in his mind, and he had to figure it out first, and he couldn't become a catcher if he didn't get confused. Qizan lazily hugged her shoulders and looked at Lu Yunqi with a calm face. It seemed to her that this was her iconic gesture, elegant. "The two of us only met once. Are you sure you didn't recognize the wrong person? And in your identity, you found out that you were pregnant at the time, so you should be able to remove the baby?" Lu Yunqi asked with excitement and calm expression. Qizan pondered for a moment, and said faintly, "No, at the time my dad forced me to marry a man I didn't love at all. Just when I was about to fight to death, I found out that I was pregnant. Originally, my first reaction was to be taken away, but when I went to the hospital, I was scared again, and the doctor told me that if I take away the child, I am afraid I will never have the opportunity to be a mother again. So, I didn't take it seriously, so I applied to study abroad and secretly gave birth to the baby abroad. Of course, if you don't believe it, you can do a paternity test." Quote, "Why didn't you come to me at the time?" Lu Yunqi asked, a little puzzled. For Chizan said that she had done it once, he still believed it, otherwise the system would not give such a high score. He was still quite surprised. He didn't expect that after crossing over, the body became so powerful that he could actually shoot into the soul. The foolish person is already a father. Looking for you. Chizan looked at Lu Yunqi up and down, and said straightforwardly, you are an ordinary person, you want an identity without an identity, a background without a background, if I look for you, it will only harm you. Lu Yunqi looked at his outfit, smiled awkwardly, his mind was a little confused. He knew that the real situation was just like what Qi Xuanxuan said. If he let her parents know that his daughter had a big belly, with the background of the Qi family in Yudu, he estimated that he would either sit in prison or become a member of the river. An unnamed male corpse. Then why dare you come to me now? You want to marry me, you see, I am in a situation now. Lu Yun spread his hands and pointed to the barbecue stall not far away. The meaning is obvious. You are still at the bottom of the society. Are you not afraid of being known by your family now? Even if Qi Xuanxuan is a single mother, with her appearance and identity, her parents would not agree to her marrying a poor dick. Of course, this poverty is only temporary, but now I have the system in hand, and I have it in the world. Because of the current Qi family, I have the final say, and for more important reasons, I also said before. The child is growing up and needs a complete family, and he needs the love of the father. Qi Xuanxuan frowned, her words full of words. The breath of thousands of miles away. It seemed that she came to Lu Yunqi to get married. It was a gift to him. If it weren't for the blood of his child, she wouldn't have had anything to do with such a person in her entire life. According to your terms, there should be many suitors, why? Because you are the child's real father. Before Lu Yunqi finished speaking, Qi Xuanxuan interrupted him directly and said coldly. Lu Yunqi could hear that Qi Xuanxuan was still as cold as 3 years ago, cold and inaccessible. Although she was poor, she was not without dignity. When he saw Qi Xuanxuan's attitude, he wanted to reject it straightforwardly. He was silent when he heard the 3 words, pro-dad. 3 minutes later, Lu Yun nodded heavily and said, okay, I agree. He was completely touched by the blood of his child, and the most fragile part of his heart was touched. As for this seemingly cold woman, after all, he was sorry for her. You can imagine, a rich lady, unmarried. How much grievances must be endured to give birth first. After seeing Lu Yunqi's readily consent, Qi Xuanxuan let out a faint sigh and found that he hadn't read the agreement carefully, so she reminded, you'd better read the agreement carefully. The babies are still young. You have to take care of them full-time. Of course, every time. I will give you 100,000 yuan in pocket money in a month. Understand, you will be responsible for making money to support your family in the future, and I will be responsible for eating soft meals and bringing your baby. The task is clear and the cooperation is pleasant. Lu Yunqi responded. He doesn't care about how much money, mainly because he can't let his children have no fathers, and don't want other men to abuse his children. Of course, he doesn't think that a wealthy daughter would be so bored to find himself as an ordinary person in the market. Just kidding. After the decision was made, Lu Yunqi's mood seemed to be much calmer. He had a good mouth and he didn't need to eat soft food. The current situation was only temporary. Besides, now that I have my own system in hand, although it is not good to go out, I will have to climb on top of her one day and let her marry my old Lu family. Okay. Sign the contract now, and when you get the hukou, we will get the certificate. Qi Xuanxuan seems to have agreed because of Lu Yunqi, and her mood has improved a lot, with a rare smile on her face. Lu Yunqi was not hypocritical, and took a pen directly from Qi Xuanxuan's hand. Without hesitation, he signed his name on the last page of the agreement, and then directly bit his finger and pressed the fingerprint. Xiao Ji Yu, bring the things in the car. Qi Xuanxuan watched Lu Yunqi's signature and postponed, then turned to look at the assistant who was waiting in the distance and shouted. Soon, the assistant took a file bag and handed it to Qi Xuanxuan. Here, take these things. Qi Xuanxuan took the paper bag from the assistant and passed it directly in front of Lu Yunqi, and continued, I will deposit 100,000 in this bank card on time every month. The amount is not fixed. It depends on your performance. It's just like this, and it's like this, it paved the way of life. Lu Yun joked. Enlightenment is good, Qi Xuanxuan said lightly. After that, he turned around and left. At this moment, Lu Yun stood up under the street light, looking at the taillights of the car that was going away. The familiar voice rang in his mind again. Congratulations to the host for completing the novice mission and successfully signing a marriage agreement to reward life, God cooking skill. God level cooking. Not bad. If you want to keep a woman's heart, you must first keep a woman's stomach. This skill is very real. Lu Yunqi was very excited. System, how to use this. The host only needs to directly choose life skills to use. In an instant, Lu Yunqi felt a huge amount of information pouring into his mind. Because of the huge amount of information, he felt a little pain in his head. After Lu Yunqi digested all the information on the God-level cooking skills, it was already half an hour later, returned to the booth, collected the things and returned to his residence. Because his life was very embarrassing before, he lived in a slum not far from the university town, surrounded by 2-story buildings, and the tallest one was only 4 floors. The houses were all very aging, and he only rented a garage for 500 yuan a month. Eating, drinking, sleeping, and sleeping in a garage less than 10 square meters, a simple iron frame bed. The room is filled with various barbecue ingredients. When first entered, the whole room was filled with an unspeakable taste. I don't know if it is because of the system or because Qi Xuanxuan just gave him a bank card worth 100,000 yuan. After returning home to take a shower, she couldn't fall asleep in bed. Changed the phone card and saved Qizan's phone number. After adding WeChat, she was very hesitant to hold her mobile phone, whether or not to call her parents in her hometown. After 3 years, he has already become accustomed to life in this world. The next morning, Lu Yun got up early in the morning and changed into slightly cleaner clothes. According to the address given by Qi Xuanxuan, he came to Yudu's most luxurious Jinshuiating villa area. I'm at the door. Standing at the door of the luxury villa complex, Lu Yunqi sent Qizan a WeChat message. About 2 minutes later, the security guard at the door walked out and confirmed with Lu Yunqi before letting him in. Qi Xuanxuan's own villa was not far from the gate of the community. When Lu Yun reached the gate of the villa, she was already standing at the gate, dressed in professional attire. She looked like a cold and domineering female president. After seeing Lu Yunqi, a smile appeared on that somewhat cold face, and said, "Morning, the baby is still eating breakfast, come and get acquainted first." Yeah, Lu Yun nodded at the beginning and followed Qi Xuanxuan into the villa. When he reached the door, he asked, "Do you want to take off your shoes?" "No, this will be your home in the future, so you don't have to be so cautious," Qi Xuanxuan said lightly. Lu Yun nodded at the beginning, but he lifted his foot to pat the dust on the soles of his feet, and then walked into the villa. After entering the villa, Lu Yunqi knew what the rich world is. In this villa, as long as you can imagine any configuration, it has a large outdoor swimming pool, gym, children's playground, garden and so on. The main body of the whole villa is a 5-story European-style building style. The exterior looks very atmospheric, and the decoration inside is like a palace, full of money. Under the leadership of Qi Xuanxuan, Lu Yun got up to the lobby on the first floor and looked around. In the nearly 100 square meter living room, all kinds of luxurious furniture were neatly arranged, and 2 babysitters were taking care of the 2 children for dinner. "Tang Tang, Guago, come to my mother." Qi Xuanxuan walked into the room and waved to the restaurant. The 2 little babies looked up and found that a strange uncle had arrived at home, and hurriedly ran to Qi Xuanxuan. At this moment, Lu Yun's pupils suddenly shrank. "This is so special, is your own genes so powerful?" Suddenly a double shot. "With these 2 little padded jackets, no matter how cold the winter is, I don't seem to be afraid of the cold anymore." When the 2 babies left the dining table, Lu Yunqi could see clearly that their facial features perfectly inherited all the advantages of Qi Xuanxuan, and they were so refined that they were impeccably refined. Especially those big watery eyes, as if with aura, looked very cute, some reddish little cheeks, like immature apples, people couldn't help but want to pinch them. However, the hair of the 2 babies inherited Lu Yunqi's advantages. Some yellowish, soft hair strands were tied into 2 small braids, matched with the princess dresses on them, and they looked like little princesses in a fairy tale world. Seeing the 2 little guys hopping out of the restaurant, at this moment, Lu Yunqi admitted that he had already liked the 2 baby girls. The new system mission is released. If you get a kiss from the two little princesses, you can get a piece of special space. Friendly reminder. Anything that is planted in the special space is not available in this world and has special effects. Task object. 1. Dabao Chi Shimin, Tang Tang. Gender. Female. Age. 2 years and 5 months. Task object 2. Xiaobao Chi Shihan, Guago. Gender. Female. Age. 2 years and 5 months. Just as the two treasures were about to walk in front of Qi Xuanxuan, Lu Yun's mind again sounded the system prompt. Tang Tang, Guago, this is Dad. After the two children came over, Qi Xuanxuan introduced one by one. The two little guys looked at Lu Yunqi in a daze, their curious eyes scanning him like a radar. Who is this tall and handsome uncle? Why is it familiar? About 30 seconds later, they seemed to recall the picture of Dad that their mother had shown to themselves. It was actually exactly the same as the uncle's face. The two little guys turned their heads sideways and glanced at each other, their eyes brightened, excitement and joy instantly bloomed on the two pink and cute faces. Breaking away from the palm Qi Xuanxuan was holding, the two windy women rushed towards Lu Yunqi together. Dad, Daddy, the immature and crisp cry hit Lu Yunqi's heart with excitement, squatting down involuntarily, opening his hands, almost simultaneously embracing the two cuties into his arms. At this moment, Lu Yunqi's heart, whose blood is thicker than water, suddenly rose, his nose felt a little sour, and there seemed to be sand in his eye sockets. It is said that men do not flick when they have tears, but that is just before the most love. Qi Xuanxuan on the side looked at the warm picture, nodded secretly, and the corners of her mouth rose slightly. In the past 3 years, she has experienced the ups and downs that only she knows. Although her family background is good, it is also because of her family background that she has suffered more pressure than ordinary women. With the kind of pain that can't return home. If it hadn't been for half a year ago, because of her father's sudden death, she would have been hiding in a foreign country alone and dare not return. Although I was very pleased in my heart, there was not too much expression on his face, and he looked at him indifferently. Dad, Tang Tang misses you so much. And Guago also misses Dad very much. The two little princesses shrank tightly in Lu Yunqi's big breasts, and their little hands gripped his clothes tightly, for fear that this was just a dream. Dad misses you too. Lu Yun felt the enthusiasm in his arms and said in a low voice. At the same time, he secretly vowed in his heart, I will make up for the fatherly love they have missed in the past 2 years. Dad, you are back this time, will you never leave again? Tang Tang asked with a pouting mouth. Well, never leave again. Lu Yun glanced at Qi Xuanxuan, then pointed at the two little cuties, and said with a petting face, Daddy will be with you every day from now on. After speaking, they kissed each on the forehead. Wow, really, great, great, Tang Tang cheered excitedly when she heard it, stood on tiptoe, and kissed Lu Yunqi's face. I want it too. Guago, unwilling to show weakness, stood up on her toes and yelled and kissed Lu Yunqi's other cheek. Congratulations to the host for completing the task and getting the reward, mysterious breeding space. This space is a built-in space of the system. As long as the host is silently thinking, it can be opened, and both planting and taking out can be completed by mind. Anything can be planted in this space. Lu Yunqi asked two little cuties in his arms, silently. Yes, in addition to not being able to grow money, any fruit, vegetable, or plant can be grown. The system replied coldly. This is very NB. If it cooperates with my God-level cooking skills, wouldn't it be possible to hold the female voice of Qi Xuanxuan firmly in the palm of his hand in the future? Sure enough, life is full of surprises everywhere, and refreshing time every day. Lu Yunqi was very happy at this moment, and the two little girls, Tang Tang and Guago, were also very excited. Okay, you two should go to kindergarten. Qi Xuanxuan checked the time, it was almost 8 o'clock. She didn't want to break the warmth in her heart, but she still reminded her in a cold voice. Mom, can we ask Dad to send us to school today? The two little cuties turned around, looking at Qi Xuanxuan with an imploring expression and asked. Fearing that she would not agree, both of them did not leave Lu Yunqi's embrace. Of course you can. From now on, Dad will send you to school every day. After school, Dad will also come to pick you up. Lu Yunqi spoke first. Oye, we will have father send us to school in the future, okay? The two cuties screamed excitedly. When two small heads were raised in unison to see Lu Yun rise, the eye sockets were a little rosy, but the eyes were very bright. Since the two of them started to go to kindergarten, they have always been the family nanny in charge of picking up and dropping off. They have asked their mother unhappy several times. Why do other children have their parents to pick them up, but they don't? At that time, Qi Xuanxuan was also very sad when she was asked. Not long after her father passed away, the huge Haochen group suddenly fell on a young woman like her. The company's things alone have already made her dizzy, and she can't squeeze out the time to pick up and drop off the children. This is one of the reasons why she found Lu Yunqi. Although she was very emotional in her heart, Qi Xuanxuan's tone was still rather cold, and said, "I will leave it to you for the two little guys." After speaking, he turned and went to work. "Leave it to me, don't worry," Lu Yunqi solemnly replied, and asked Tang Tang and Guogo to pay her respects to Qi Xuanxuan. "Mom, goodbye. Mummy, goodbye." Blood is thicker than water, and it's so smooth with her own daughter, and after only a while, she has already played so well. Qi Xuanxuan looked back, said to the two little babies, then turned around and went out. At the door, the assistant and the driver had been waiting early. After getting in the car, the assistant handed over a document, saying, "Miss, this is the information you want." "What's special?" Qi Xuanxuan took the file and looked at it seriously. Today, she has to face the general managers of two branch companies, which are involved in two different industries, so she must supplement the information of the two branch companies before meeting with the two general managers. "No, the overall performance of these two branches is fairly stable at the moment," the assistant replied. Haochen Group is mainly engaged in entertainment and clothing industries. Although Qi Xuanxuan did not know these two industries before, with her super high business acumen, she still completely controlled the entire group within half a year. However, she is not sitting back with Wu Yu. In the company, there are many people who are not satisfied with her, so Qi Xuanxuan is very strict in the studio. On the other side, Lu Yunqi also took two cute little ones, and drove the BMW 7 Series that Qi Xuanxuan had prepared for him to the school where the girl was studying. Alistan International Kindergarten is said to be the top aristocratic kindergarten in Yudu. Children who can study here have no family assets less than 1 billion. When Lu Yunqi sent the two babies to school, there were already many luxury cars passing by the school gate one after another. Originally, Lu Yun felt that he drove a 7 Series BMW should be considered pretty good, but the reality has completely refreshed his perception. More than 1 million cars can only be considered entry-level here. At the gate of the school, a female teacher with big glasses was greeting the children to enter the school. "Hello, Teacher Shu. Hello, Teacher Shu." Tang Tang and Guogo greeted the female teacher with a smile and politely after seeing the female teacher. "Tang Tang, Guogo, how are you?" The teacher replied with a smile, then looked at Lu Yunqi curiously, looked up and down, and asked, "You are?" "Teacher, this is our handsome dad. My dad said he will come and pick us up to school every day from now on." Tang Tang hurriedly said with excitement and pride. Guogo was beside him, nodding his head in agreement. Lu Yunqi stepped forward and introduced himself. "Hello teacher, my name is Lu Yunqi, and I am Tang Tang and Guguo's father. I will be responsible for picking up the children in the future." "Hello, I am the teacher of the two of them. My name is Xu Min." Xu Min smiled and nodded, and then continued, "Is it convenient to keep a WeChat?" "The WeChat that has been added to the baby's mother has not been added until now. Your family hasn't joined the class group yet." "Okay, then I will add you." Lu Yunqi quickly picked up the shot and added a WeChat account with Xu Min. After adding WeChat, Xu Min walked into the school with his two children. After Tang Tang and Guogo walked into the school gate, they looked back at the same time and shouted at Lu Yun, "Dad, for nothing, remember to pick us up this afternoon." "Okay, remember to listen to the teacher at school." Lu Yunqi also responded loudly. After watching the two cute little figures disappear completely, he returned to the car and drove away. Lu Yun got up and went to his original place, took out the phone, and called his mother first. "In this world's home, everything is up to my mother. Although the previous events have made my mother very upset, the parents will always be Daoziko Tofu." After the phone rang a few times, it was connected. "Hey, Yun Chi, call here now, what's the matter?" This is the voice of my mother Jo Weiying. Mom, I want to tell you something. What's the matter so serious? Mom, I made a mistake again. This time it was quite serious. Everyone came to the door. Lu Yun's voice was low, as if he had done something wrong and confessed to his parents. Ah, son, you are not borrowing usury outside, are you? What the hell is going on? You can tell me clearly. On the other side of the phone, Jo Weiying was anxious after hearing it. No, Mom, it's not that wrong. How can I go back to borrow loan sharks? No, don't worry. With a black line on Lu Yun's face, this mother's brain is really big enough. What's going on? You say it, it's really anxious. On the other end of the phone, Jo Weiying's tone eased a lot when she heard that it was not a loan shark, and she urged. I've done something I'm sorry for others, but now they have found me and they want me to be responsible. Lu Yunqi continued. Son, you wouldn't have made other people's stomachs bigger, now they are coming. Jo Weiying's voice trembled and said excitedly. Lu Yunqi gave his mother a thumbs up directly. Holmes. Mom, can you guess this? After 2 seconds of silence on the other end of the phone, Jo Weiying's surprised voice rang. Son, you really have a big stomach. What's the situation now? Has the child been born? Where is the girl from? Quote. Then came a series of questions about the girl, and Lu Yun shook his head. How much does this mother want to find a daughter-in-law for her? Mom, the child is over 2 years old, and you have a granddaughter. Now that someone is looking for you, you can tell me what should I do? Lu Yunqi pretended to be frustrated. Do you still need your mother to teach you about this? Of course, it's numb to bring people back, and your mother will hold a wedding for them. And I listen to your tone, why? Seems like you don't want to see my granddaughter. Let me tell you, if you dare to do something that is sorry for others, my old lady, I will hit you. Quote. Jo Weiying's tone was tough, for fear that Lu Yunqi would get rid of her baby granddaughter, and threatened them all. In the village where Lu Yunqi was located, many children of the same age were already married, and those who were married early had children. Since Lu Yunqi has been through that incident since graduating from university, he has been confused. Although Jo Weiying didn't urge her, she still felt a little uncomfortable when she saw that everyone was holding her grandson. It's fine now, the direct granddaughter is 2 years old, and she suddenly feels that she can hold her head up in the village. Mom, even if you want to take a daughter-in-law again, people may not marry. They are in good conditions and their father has just passed away. If the child is not old and needs a dad, they will not let the child recognize me as a relative dad. Lu Yun said in a worried tone. What, does she still want you to become a parent? That's, Jo Weiying said in surprise at first, and then seemed to think of something, so she didn't continue. Lu Yunqi knew that it was not easy to persuade a traditional-minded mother, so he tentatively said, she did say that, Mom, or just forget it, son, I'll be a heartbreaker and I'll give it to you again. Find someone. You shut up, don't worry, and stabilize the other party. I have to discuss this matter with your dad. Remember, you are not allowed to be a bearer. Jo Weiying interrupted Lu Yunqi's words directly. She didn't want to look at her granddaughter, she just became someone else's. After all, the granddaughter had the blood of the old Lu family on her, and she had to find a way to talk to Lu Yunqi's father, Lu Kun. That's all right, Mom, you can discuss it with your dad, I'll wait for your message. After Lu Yunqi finished speaking, he hung up the phone directly. Then I went to the landlord again and paid a year's rent. It may not come here in the future, but it is also a rare memory. After paying the rent, the landlady gave him a pack of pumpkin seeds, but it turned out that it was full of vegetable seeds. System, can I plant this thing directly into that kind of colonial space? Lu Yun asked curiously, sitting in the car. Yes, the host only needs to use his mind to put the seeds into the cultivation space of the Tao. The system explained. Lu Yun grabbed a handful of seeds that he didn't know what it was, controlled them with his mind, and entered the systemic planting space. There was a place no different from ordinary farmland, with an area of about 1 acre. After the sowing, Lu Yunqi asked curiously, System, how long will it take for it to mature? Just now the host planted bitter gourd. This kind of vegetable will mature in at most 12 hours. It's not ripening so fast, can it still be eaten? Lu Yunqi is also a child from the countryside. Although he hasn't grown vegetables much, he probably still understands some basic common sense. The host can rest assured that the system must produce high-quality products. In this planting space, the things that are planted are not available in the world, and the fruits and vegetables planted will have special effect bonuses. Okay, I hope what you said is true. Lu Yunqi did not continue to struggle with this issue. Anyway, the area in the breeding space was large enough, so he simply threw all the breeding that the ant gave him. When he drove away from the house where he used to live, it was already noon. Because the two babies were eating at school at noon, Lu Yunqi ate something outside by himself. After eating, I drove to a relatively large shopping mall nearby, bought some ingredients, and sent them back to the villa before driving to Alistan kindergarten. It's only 3:30 in the afternoon, and there are still more than half an hour before Tang Tang and Guogo leave school. Anyway, now I don't have to go out to set up a stall at night, so I have nothing to do, so I just go to the kindergarten entrance and wait early. Star Building. In the office of the president of the Star Group. Manager Lee, the real estate branch, you have to follow up. There has been a clear downward trend in sales performance this quarter. The group must provide an effective solution. Qi Xuanxuan sat in the boss chair, said to a middle-aged man in a suit. Okay, President, I will implement it right away. The middle-aged man wiped the sweat from his forehead with his sleeve and replied. Go out and close the door. Qi Zhan said lightly. It was not until Manager Li walked out of the office and closed the door that Qi Xuanxuan's eyes fell on the woman who was sitting on the sofa with outstanding looks, build, and temperament. I said, Miss Baicha, if you don't guard your company all day, why are you running here? This woman is Qi Xuanxuan's best friend, Bai Cha, the daughter of the Bai Group. The Baishi Group is similar in its own family. It is also a large group with assets of more than 100 billion yuan. However, they are mainly engaged in liquor and tourism projects. In the two major industries of Yudu, they are worthy of the name. Bai Cha took up the coffee on the coffee table with a grin, took a sip, and said, I'm here to find you to go hippie at night, how about it, and when will I get off work? Today, I made appointments with several handsome guys. Not interested, Qi Xuanxuan replied coldly after a glance at the white tea. Hey, I said, Zhan, what's the situation with you? You have to hold back what is going on like this. Can you just rely on the cold cucumber for 3 years? Bai Cha immediately stood up from the sofa with a hate. Said to Qi Xuanxuan as if iron was not made of steel. Today, she has worked so hard to get a lot of school grass and handsome men from major schools. She plans to take her best friend to relax this evening, but she did not expect that she called her every time before. There was some hesitation, this time he refused so decisively. You, Qi Xuanxuan's face turned green with anger, and said angrily, do you think everyone is like you? Then why don't you go? Bai Cha sat crookedly on Qi Xuanxuan's desk, raised her head and thought for a moment, seeming to understand something, and said loudly, oh, don't worry, I won't tell my brother. Will I go? What does it have to do with your brother? Qi Xuanxuan took a look at Bai Cha, picked up the file in her hand, and said angrily, can you not sit on my desk? Hey, no. Bai Cha smiled, and a pair of eagle eyes stared at Qi Xuanxuan closely. The expression in those eyes almost wanted to see through her whole body, and said, my brother has liked you for 2 years. Doesn't matter. Although Qi Xuanxuan was holding the document in her hand, but with this girlfriend, she was destined to be unable to calm down and read the document. She looked up and saw Bai Cha's somewhat piercing eyes, full of question marks, and subconsciously touched her cheek. Do you think there is something dirty? Don't talk nonsense, I have a husband. Seeing that there was nothing on his face, he took the folder and patted Bai Cha on his body, and said solemnly. What the hell? Bai Cha almost fell off the desk without a but, and then looked at Qi Xuanxuan in shock, as if looking at an alien. Qi Xuanxuan actually married? How can it be? My good girlfriend didn't even attend her wedding, don't you say, then my brother is hopeless. Well, I'm surprised, sister now has a husband too. Qi Zhan raised her eyebrows and said with a smug face, smiling at Bai Cha. Bai Cha froze for a long time before coming back to his senses, and asked in disbelief, when did you marry? I haven't been a bridesmaid yet, and who are you married to? Does he have my handsome boy? Well, handsome than your brother. Qi Xuanxuan nodded affirmatively, and the corners of her mouth rose slightly. At this moment, the more surprised Bai Cha was expressed, the more refreshed she felt, and she didn't know what was going on. Regarding Lu Yunqi, she never told anyone, even her best friend. She also didn't know who Tang Tang and Guguo's father was. Oh grass, more handsome than my brother. Are you too tired of using electric power? You spent a little fresh meat in your wallet. Bai Cha jumped off the desk and stared at Qi Xuanxuan in shock. You said that you were a big girl, why can't you speak a little more civilized? Qi Zan rolled her eyes, said angrily, and then smiled mysteriously. I'm married, the person I want to marry. Nani, I said Zan Xuaner, this is not enough for you, are we two of the best girlfriends? Bai Cha asked after returning to the coffee table and taking a sip of the coffee. Qi Zan nodded deeply. Then you are married quietly. My best friend only knows now. Hey, I didn't expect that you are also a person who cares about girls and despise friends. I cried silently for my brother for a while. Bai Cha pretended to be sad. It looks a little funny. Qi Xuanxuan faintly retorted. You are not bad, I didn't know until today, why do you always like to be single? Why, I don't know it myself. Bai Cha curiously asked. Because, Qi Zan was about to say, because when Bai Cha liked electric, the phone on the table suddenly vibrated. After a glance, he found that it was a WeChat message sent by Lu Yun. A faint arc appeared at the corner of his mouth, and he picked up the phone to check it. After reading what Lu Yun had posted, his face was full of surprise. Seeing her look so shocked, Bai Cha thought that something was happening, so she leaned over immediately. When she saw the WeChat profile picture and content, she opened her mouth and said, "Oh my god, who is this person? Pretty handsome. No, he said he would cook for you tonight, are you really?" What, can't someone cook for me? Qi Zan asked casually, shocked in her heart, and Yusho replied briskly. No, I'm just curious, where did you find such a handsome freshman and still cook? Bai Cha was very curious. Where on earth was Qi Xuanxuan a handsome guy, and at the same time curious about this man? How did she get the favor of the high cold goddess Qi Yun? Secret, Qi Xuanxuan pretended to say mysteriously. Cut, don't care, I'm going to your house to make a meal tonight. It happened that I haven't seen Tang Tang and Guago for a long time. Bai Cha said shamelessly as if she couldn't figure it out. On the other side, Lu Yunqi sitting in the car, after receiving Qi Xuanxuan's reply, the corners of his mouth rose slightly. It's time to perform real technology. 4:10 in the afternoon. At the entrance of Alistan International Kindergarten, there was already a long queue, all of them were parents or nanny waiting to pick up their children home. Not long after, Tang Tang and Guago came out of the school, led by teacher Shu. As soon as they came out, they rushed right after seeing Lu Yun getting up. Wow, Dad. The two little guys looked very excited. Baby, did you listen to the teacher in school? Lu Yun squatted down, opened his hands, and smiled at the two innocent cuties. Yes, Tang Tang can be obedient today, Tang Tang rushed to answer. Dad, Guago is also very obedient today. Guago said not to be outdone when he saw his sister took the lead. Lu Yun laughed, and was surrounded by sweet happiness. He turned his head and kissed Tang Tang's forehead, and then kissed Guguo's forehead. The two little guys became happier after getting kisses from their father. Tang Tang took the initiative to stretch out her little hand and said to Lu Yunqi, Dad, hug. Dad, I'm going to hit the vest. To hit the vest is when a child sits on his father's shoulder. Although the two little girls put forward more requirements, Lu Yunqi still accepts everything and satisfies them all, and said, okay, Dad will satisfy you all. At this moment, teacher Shu came over, looked at Tang Tang and Guago, smiled and said, two little babies, can the teacher have a few words with your father? Hello teacher Shu. Hello teacher Shu. When the two little cuties saw Shu Min coming over, they greeted with a smile. Baby, you two wait for Dad for a while. Dad and teacher Shu can say a few words, can you? Lu Yunqi smiled and asked in a discussing tone. Okay. The two sisters nodded very obediently, and let go of their little hands reluctantly. Lu Yun stood up and looked at teacher Shu with a smile. Mr. Shu, if you have anything, please tell me. Hello, Mr. Lu. Shu Min looked at the two smiling children. It was the first time that she saw these two little guys smiling so happily. She continued smiling and said, This is the first time I have seen them. Both can be so happy one day. After hearing this, Lu Yunqi was taken aback, and asked in surprise, aren't they happy in school before? Yes. Shu Min nodded heavily and continued. Recently, the two little babies are always listless at school. No matter what activities they do, they are not very interested, and they like to cry every time after school. Later, after I asked about it, I found out that the two of them saw that other children had parents who took them to and from school, and complained that you don't usually accompany them. Quote, children at this age are the critical period for their spiritual growth. The company and care of their parents play a vital role in their growth. I know that you are all busy people starting a company, and you don't have much time to accompany your children. Their mother, I still met when school started, and you, the first time I saw you today. Quote. Lu Yunqi scratched his head awkwardly and listened carefully as Shu Min continued. Today is a very good start. I hope you can continue to keep it and always give them good company and care. After all, the growth of children is irreversible. There is only one childhood and it will accompany them throughout their lives. Thank you, Teacher Shu, for your reminder. Don't worry, I will pick up the children every day and accompany them every day. Lu Yunqi thanked him sincerely. Well, I hope you can do it. Shu Min nodded in relief. Lu Yun started to pat the chest of his acquaintance, and promised, I do what I say. Seeing Lu Yunqi's vows, Shu Min smiled and said nothing, but after a simple goodbye, he turned and left. After Lu Yun smiled and said goodbye to Teacher Shu, he turned around and picked up Tang Tang and Guogo, and walked to his car. After putting the two sisters on the child's seat, he started the car and drove towards the Fairview Villa. In the office of the president of the Star Group on the other side, after Qi Xuanxuan and Bai Cha talked for a while, Bai Cha seemed to be more anxious than Qi Xuanxuan. He raised his hand and looked at his watch. It was 5 o'clock. Then he urged. I said, Zan Xuaner, it's time to get off work, I have to go to your house and help you investigate. I'm married, what do you want you to investigate? Qi Xuanxuan glanced at the time on the computer secretly, and began to pack things in her hands, but she said irritably. Of course I'm investigating the man who wants to cook for you, my good girlfriend, I have to help you check it out and see if it is really as handsome as the picture. There are some righteous people in the front of the white tee, and the back. Become a bit inexplicable guilty conscience. She actually wanted to see if the man was really that handsome and could cook. If it was true, she would ask if there is any good buddy with the same style, and introduce one to herself. After all, the thinking of rich people is different from ordinary people. White tea is a kind of high speed at any time, but the actual action is that it is still a young child for 25 years. In her capacity, the people who are basically equivalent are playboys. The others are almost all for her money. In her opinion, even if it is for her own money, she must be satisfied. On the other side, Lu Yunqi already drove back to the villa with two cute little ones, and bought a lot of ingredients on the way. Because in Qi Xuanxuan's reply to him, it said, some girlfriends are going to eat at home in the evening. When they arrived at the villa, a nanny came out to help hold Tang Tang and Guogo, and Lu Luck came into the villa with a lot of ingredients. One of the nanny hugged Tang Tang, glanced at Lu Yunqi who was walking in front, and said to the nanny next to him, is this Mr. Lu still a native of Yudu? Why do you say that? Because in Yudu's vegetable market and at the entrance of the school, many of them are men. I remember what it is called in the local area. Oh, rake ears, the babysitter holding Tang Tang said in surprise. Lu Yunqi was carrying the ingredients in front, his face was full of black lines, but he didn't refute anything. He was indeed a raking ear now. As the group walked into the house, Lu Yunqi walked straight into the kitchen, ready to show off his skills. As for the superb cooking skills given by the system, Lu Yunqi feels that he has no problem applying for the chef of the Michelin restaurant now, so he will naturally show his skills. Uncle, why did you come to the kitchen? The chef auntie asked Lu Yunqi into the kitchen curiously. Oh, tonight I want to cook Zan's dinner myself, leave it to me here. Ah, uncle, do you know how to cook? The two chef aunts in the kitchen looked at Lu Yunqi in surprise, with a face full of disbelief. In their opinion, men nowadays, apart from being chefs, few people cook, even if they are chefs, they are unwilling to cook at home. Uncle, the eldest lady is very picky about what you eat, reminded the lady in charge of the kitchen. In her opinion, it is okay to please the eldest lady, but she can do her best, otherwise, it will be counterproductive. Hee, don't worry, you can go out first and leave it to me here. Lu Yun smiled and waved his hand. He also knew the suspicions in the hearts of the two aunts, but he didn't bother to explain so much. When the food was made, he would naturally be able to prove it. After the two chefs looked at each other, they finally withdrew from the kitchen. At this time, there was another car noise outside the villa. After a while, Qi Xuanxuan and Bai Cha walked into the villa. As soon as the two entered the door, Qi Xuanxuan watched the two chef aunts and a few babysitters stand in the door of the kitchen, poked her head, and looked into the kitchen with shocked expression on her face. Hey, Zan Xuaner, what's the situation? What are those people peeking at? Bai Cha patted Qi Zan on the shoulder and asked in a low voice. I just came back too, wanting to know if I'm going to see it. Qi Xuanxuan turned her head and glanced at Bai Cha, and said. The two of them stepped forward curiously and were shocked. In the kitchen, Lu Yun raised his finger and gently hooked, and the kitchen knife placed on the knife holder was easily hooked up by him. After passing a beautiful knife in the air, it fell into his hand accurately. After that, Lu Yun raised his other hand and pointed at the ingredients next to him, gently mentioning that those ingredients seemed to be alive, and he placed them on the chopping board lightly. Immediately after, da 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 da. Guessed the crisp sound of collision with the chopping board. Just like the surreal scenes in Zonghua Xiaodang's house, almost all the knives that Lu Yun used to cut vegetables left behind. The chopped ingredients, gently pushed by him with skill, fell precisely on the empty plates placed next to them, stacked neatly on top of each other, without the slightest mess. Ignite, start the pot, heat oil, green onion, ginger, garlic, and ingredients into the pot. Stabbing, sparks rose up, as if dancing in a pot. Turning the pot, turning the spoon, cutting, and stir-frying. Lu Yunqi, with a confident smile at the corner of his mouth, exuded amazing charm at this moment, as if he had entered his own domain, completely unaware that a large number of people outside the door were watching the live performance. All the people standing at the door of the kitchen watched in a daze. No one made a sound. Tang Tang and Guago were held by the nanny, with their mouths open, and saliva flowed out from the corners of their mouths. Although Qi Xuanxuan and Bai Chaliang were standing on the outermost layer, they smelled the strong fragrance. Guru. Both of them couldn't help swallowing, staring at the kitchen closely. Qi Xuanxuan was extremely happy in her heart. She did not expect that Lu Yun would have such a superb cooking skill in her daily life. She glanced at the white tea, who was also fascinated by this scene, and a smug smile appeared on her face. At this moment, Bai Cha didn't look at Qi Xuanxuan's proud expression at all, but was immersed in the kitchen, on the superb cooking performance. She had never seen it before. The pot and spoon were spinning and dancing in the hands of the chef, and they were all taken out of play. I have never seen it before. When it is necessary to add seasoning, the chef just needs to shake his hand gently, and the spoon is like a hook, the seasoning is hooked out of the bowl, and after a beautiful arc is drawn in the air, it accurately falls into the pot. Middle. In addition, Lu Yunqi's movements looked so smooth and gorgeous, and the ingredients in the pot hadn't flowed outside because of the large movements. Lu Yunqi in the kitchen was completely immersed in his own domain. While cooking, he took out 2 soup pots and started to prepare soup. Under everyone's attention, a fish that looked like 3 or 4 catties, lying on the chopping board for less than 2 minutes, had been sliced into a neat pile of sashimi. Wow, that is amazing. Tang Tang couldn't help it anymore. His immature voice was full of surprise, and his face was full of admiration praise. Hearing Tang Tang's voice, Lu Yun looked back and asked in surprise, Huh? Why are you all here? Immediately, her eyes fell on Qi Xuanxuan, who was standing behind the crowd, and she smiled and said, You are back, wait a while, it will be fine in a while. Several babysitters and the chef aunt turned their heads along with Lu Yun's gaze. All of them looked embarrassed, and greeted in unison, Miss, you are back. Qi Xuanxuan nodded to Lu Yun's starting point, did not speak. Her eyes fell on the servants, and said lightly, It's all gone. Everyone actually wanted to watch it for a while, but Qi Xuanxuan had spoken, and none of them dared to disobey. Of course, this is in addition to white tea. When she saw the others finally stepped aside, she went straight to the kitchen door, leaned against the wall and asked curiously, "Handsome man, you are very good at cooking, and your posture is very handsome, especially the swish just now. It has to be the same as making a movie, used to be a chef." Although Qi Xuanxuan did not walk over, she kept her eyes on the kitchen. When Bai Cha asked this question, she was also very curious. According to the information she had previously found, Lu Yunqi had not systematically studied a chef. How could he cook so well? This, practice makes perfect. I haven't studied it specifically, it's all done by myself. Zhang Xiao smiled and said modestly. He can cook by himself, and even he himself was very surprised by the actual effect after receiving the god-level cooking skills rewarded by the system. Bai Cha definitely didn't believe this answer, but Qi Xuanxuan was dubious, but when she saw that Lu Yun's face seemed to start to shine because of confidence, her heart seemed to be hit hard by something. "That, handsome guy, do you need help?" Bai Cha said with some idiots. "No way, a handsome man who can cook is really too lethal to her." "No," Lu Yun shook his head, rejected Bai Cha's offer to help, and said, "You just wait and eat." After speaking, Lu Yunqi turned around again and continued to operate. On the other hand, Qi Xuanxuan took the white tea to the sofa to chat. Although she was chatting, she still stared at the kitchen from time to time. Even Qi Xuanxuan secretly watched it no less than 10 times. "Hey, Zan Xuaner, tell me honestly, where did you find such a handsome guy?" Bai Cha took a potato chip into his mouth, and asked curiously. "What are you doing?" Qi Xuanxuan glanced at the direction of the kitchen, lowered her head and said in a low voice, "He is my child's father." "Huh," Bai Cha almost choked out of breath, and said, "What? He is the scumbag who got your stomach up 3 years ago and then ran away after lifting his pants." At this moment, Lu Yunqi's little goodwill that had just been established in Bai Cha's mind was instantly defeated. "Hey, you are dying, why are you so loud?" Qi Xuanxuan hurriedly leapt over, covering Bai Cha's mouth with her hand, and explained, "It's not what you think it is, and he is willing to come. It's better for the child." Bai Cha nodded, and motioned to Qi Xuanxuan to let go of the hand covering her mouth. After Qi Xuanxuan let go, Bai Cha let out a sigh, and then said, "What? You mean, he was not because of you?" A wry smile appeared on Qi Xuanxuan's face. She still doesn't know what Lu Yunqi thinks in her heart. The last time she said she was going to get the certificate, she said that there is no news now. Lu Yunqi did not say, she was too embarrassed to ask. Zan, are you sure he has nothing wrong with his brain? You have such a beautiful beauty." Bai Cha couldn't figure it out in her heart. She thought the two liked each other, but it turned out that her best friend liked each other one way. On the other side, Lu Yun started to cook very quickly. Of course, it was mainly because the professional stove of the restaurant was installed in the villa, so the speed was increased a lot. With his superb cooking skills, the dinner was even more delicious. However, for a long time, the dishes are delicious, and the dinner that people can't help but drooling is out. With the help of the villa nanny, Lu Yun had prepared 12 various delicacies. Finally, Lu Yunqi brought a bowl of white fungus and lotus seed soup on the table. Tang Tang and Guago were already sitting in the child seat and waiting, and Qi Xuanxuan and Bai Cha were already seated. At the dinner table, Bai Cha looked at the various delicacies in front of him, his index finger moved, and his eyes fell on Qi Xuanxuan. Although she has a carefree personality, after all, she is a guest at someone's home. Even if she is a good girlfriend, she can't lose her etiquette, and she has to wait for the master to move the chopsticks. After Lu Yunqi sat down, he first served a small bowl of fish soup for the 2 babies, and then took Qi Xuanxuan's bowl over. After it was filled, he handed it back and said, "Try this fish soup first." Qi Xuanxuan took the fish soup and thanked her, "Thank you." I felt a warmth rising in my heart. Although she is a domineering female president in front of outsiders, she also has the side of a small woman in her heart, and she also longs for a man to spoil herself. "Beauty, give me the bowl, and one will help you fill it." Then he looked at the white tea again, stretched out his hand and smiled. "Thank you." Bai Cha handed over his bowl and said with a grin. At this moment, she seemed to understand why Qi Xuanxuan would choose this man. It was too warm, and she would definitely grasp it firmly when she changed to be herself. Here, Qi Xuanxuan scooped up a little fish soup with a spoon and slowly sent it into her mouth. After entering the milk-like fish soup, the rich scent made people groan, which burst out in the mouth, and then flowed into the body along the esophagus. In an instant, there seemed to be a warm current flowing throughout the body, and the whole body also became warmer, more comfortable than taking a bath in a hot spring. Well, not bad. Wow, the fish soup that Dad made is so delicious. Guoguago couldn't hold back, he had already drank several sips, and then exclaimed excitedly. Didn't you just see the posture of Father cooking? It's super handsome, Tang Tang said with a spoon in his mouth, his little head raised slightly, and his face full of complacency. I said Tang Tang, Guago, are you two a bit too exaggerated? Baicha just took over Lu Yunqi's prepared fish soup, glanced at Qi Xuanxuan's enjoyment, and looked at the two cute little ones. Said. And Bai, if you don't believe me, just take a sip. It's as white as milk, so delicious. Tang Tang looked at the white tea with big round eyes, and his face was full of pride. It was also the first time that they had eaten the food that Dad made. They were already fascinated by this bowl of fish soup before they started to eat anything else. Qi Xuanxuan sat aside and nodded to Baicha, indicating that she could taste it for herself. Sure enough, after taking a sip of the white tea, the expression on that face was even more exaggerated than Qi Xuanxuan, like a hungry wolf rushing to eat, directly after all the bowl was dried. While stretching out the bowl for Lu Yun, motioned for him to have another bowl, and said to Qi Xuanxuan, Zoner, I've decided. I will come to your house every day to eat dinner, and I will pay for the food. According to the value of white tea, what kind of delicacies of mountains and seas have not been eaten, but they have been conquered by a bowl of fish soup that Lu Yunqi had. This is incredible. You ask him if he would like to make it every day. Qi Xuanxuan was actually fascinated by this bowl of fish soup, but she didn't show it on her mouth, but when she saw her good girlfriends, she liked the fish soup made by her husband. Very happy. Handsome guy. I listened to her. Oh, Baicha's face was speechless. At this time, I felt my stomach was full, and even the delicious fish soup suddenly didn't fragrant anymore. Would you like to take care of my feelings as a single person? Is it really good to feed dog food in front of me like this? Auntie Bai, our family doesn't have a dog. Tang Tang, who was immersed in the fish soup, suddenly raised his head and said with an unidentified expression. The white tea was speechless. Lu Yunqi suppressed his smile, sipping the fish soup to himself, and after looking at Qi Xuanxuan, she found that there was still no expression on her face. You taste all the dishes, and then give me a score on a 100-point scale. In a slightly embarrassing atmosphere, Lu Yun turned off the topic and said, Dad, I will give you 100 points. Guago stretched out her small tongue, licked her lips, and said gruffly, Dad, can I only score 100 points at most? I want to give you 101 points. Tang Tang replied unhappily when Guago rushed to answer. Baby, thank you, come and taste this shrimp. Lu Yun immediately picked up 2 shrimps, peeled one and put them in a sugar bowl. Then she quickly peeled another one to Guago, otherwise she would be unhappy again. Well, handsome guy, as far as the current fish soup is concerned, I can give you 98 points. The white tea drank the fish soup tastefully, giving a score in his mouth. Lu Yunqi nodded at her, then set his eyes on Qi Xuanxuan again. 95 points. Ding, congratulations to the host, I finished cooking for my wife once, and received a satisfactory evaluation and reward great level writing skills. Great God level writing skills. Lu Yunqi was very happy. For this skill, it is quite in line with his current situation. It is better to spend time at home every day and write something. It is better than sitting in the villa every day and eating and waiting to die. Well, you eat first, I'll come as soon as I go. In order to prevent others from seeing the strangeness, Lu Yun started pointing towards the toilet, and said Qi Xuanxuan and Bai Cha. After arriving in the bathroom, Lu Yunqi looked at the great writing skills of the system space, countless professional knowledge poured into his mind. The routines in various novels, the setting of characters, the mastery of rhythm and other related skills have appeared in my mind one after another. The masterpiece of 3 young Duluo. After absorbing all the knowledge of great God-level writing skills, Lu Yunqi returned to the dinner table. When he walked to the dinner table, he suddenly felt that 2 strange eyes were falling on him, touched his cheek subconsciously, looked at Qi Xuanxuan, and asked, Is there anything dirty on my face? Qi Xuanxuan shook her head, did not speak, just kept staring at Lu Yunqi, wanting to see through. According to her investigation, Lu Yunqi had always been confused before, and at most he learned a roadside barbecue. When could he make such a delicious meal? At his level, he is more delicious than the chefs of those 7-star restaurants. With this skill, how can he go to a stall and sell barbecue? Handsome guy, you're done, Bai Cha said with a serious face, wiping the oil from the corner of his mouth. What, if I gain weight, it is your fault. Bai Cha wrinkled her nose and said with her mouth curled. No way, this man's food is so delicious that this lady can't control her mouth. I didn't let you eat that much. Lu Yun shrugged, said indifferently, then sat back to his position and began to take care of the 2 babies. Zan Shuaner, look, this guy bullied me. He finally came to your house to have a meal, but he was bullied. Facing Lu Yunqi's indifference, Bai Cha made a ferocious expression at him, and then immediately he complained to Qi Xuanxuan. Qi Xuanxuan shook her head helplessly. Zan, I'm starting to envy you. What should I do? Or ask him if there is any brother who is as handsome as him and knows how to cook, please introduce me to him. Ask yourself, Qi Xuanxuan said. Lu Yunqi didn't have any thoughts to listen to the words between the 2 girlfriends. After the 2 babies had eaten, Lu Yunqi took Liangbao to play in the garden. After eating, Bai Cha chatted with Qi Xuanxuan for a while, and then went home by herself. There was a babysitter to clean up the dinner table, and Qi Xuanxuan went to the garden to watch Lu Yunqi play with the 2 babies, and a warm smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. Tang, Guago, you should go to bed. Qi Xuanxuan walked to the garden and shouted softly as she watched the 2 little cuties. Mom, let's play for a while. Tang and Guago raised their heads, looked at Qi Xuanxuan with pleading eyes, and said with her lips curled. Lu Yun picked up the phone and looked at it and found that it was past 9 o'clock. He squatted down and hugged the 2 cute little ones in his arms. He petted and said, Baby, go to sleep, I will be with you every day from now on. Play, but you can't play too late today, you have to go to school tomorrow. Okay, then. Tang nodded reluctantly, then grabbed Lu Yun's raised arm with both hands and said coquettishly, Dad, hug. Dad, I also want to hug. Guago stretched out her little hand and said unwillingly. Okay, no problem, Dad will take you to sleep. Lu Yun scraped 2 cute noses, hugged them in his hands, looked sideways at Qi Xuanxuan, and said, I will take the children to sleep first. Qi Xuanxuan nodded, very depressed. Sure enough, it's his biological father and daughter. How long is this time? What he said is more effective than what I said. Although she felt a little disappointed in her heart, Qi Xuanxuan felt very relieved in her heart when she saw such a warm picture of the father and daughter. After Lu Yunqi returned to the children's room with 2 little treasures, he began to tell the bedtime stories to the 2 girls. Qi Xuanxuan came to the door and found that the 2 babies were already asleep, and she was accompanied by a special nanny at night. Aren't you going to bed? Oh, good. Hearing Qi Xuanxuan's voice, Lu Yun walked out of the children's room lightly and came to the door. Then I'll go back to sleep. Seeing Qi Xuanxuan still standing at the door, Lu Yunqi said something embarrassingly, and he was about to walk towards the guest room next to the baby's room. Where are you going? Qi Xuanxuan seemed a little unhappy. The room is here, Qi Xuanxuan said angrily, then turned around and walked towards her room. Lu Yunqi stayed in place. Grasped a DJ, or also unrestrained, sharing the same bed on the first day. Lu Yunqi looked at Qi Xuanxuan's graceful figure and thought of sharing a bed with her for a while, and felt that his blood temperature suddenly rose a lot, and his handsome face was a little hot. Qi Xuanxuan took 2 steps and found that Lu Yunqi hadn't followed up, so she turned her head back and whispered, Why are you still doing that? Oh, here it is. Lu Yunqi replied and followed. A woman is not afraid of it. As a man, she must not be persuaded. Isn't it just sharing the same bed? She has 2 daughters, and she is still afraid of this. Lu Yunqi encouraged himself while walking. Walking behind Qi Xuanxuan, a faint fragrance came from her nose, which made people smell very comfortable. The taste of Chanel No. 5. Entering the room, Qi Xuanxuan just opened the door, and there was a fragrance that was exactly the same as her body. The room is very large and decorated very warmly. Lu Yunqi, who entered the woman's room for the first time, felt an indescribable excitement in his heart, as if he was exploring a new continent. Go take a shower by yourself. The closet on the left side of the bed is full of your clothes. After saying that, Qi Xuanxuan walked into the small desk in her bedroom. Came to the desk and picked up the file and looked at it seriously. Lu Yun got up and walked to the bed, looking at the bedside with a lot of rag dolls. He was surprised that such a cold female voice actually had a girlish side. But this bed is big enough, if two people sleep, they will not fall into the bed. After opening the wardrobes that Qi Xuanxuan told him before, and then opening a cabinet door, he was shocked by everything that appeared in front of him. I saw all kinds of men's clothes hanging on the upper layer, ranging from formal wear to casual wear and pajamas, and it is a top brand that has not even removed the tag. Pick up a tag at random, and the price on it is not lower than 10,000. The lower level is full of men's shoes of various formats. Next to it, in a relatively small wardrobe, ties and belts of various colors are neatly placed. Lu Yunqi looked at these clothes that almost all fit his own size with a bit of surprise. Except for the size of the underwear, the other items were all the right size, and he was very moved. It seems that this soft meal is really fragrant, and as far as the current situation is concerned, Qi Xuanxuan doesn't treat him like a son-in-law who is married. Lu Yun picked up a set of pajamas and walked into the bathroom. The next day, Lu Yun got up early and ran around the villa a few times. When he got home, Qi Xuanxuan got up and saw him sweating profusely early in the morning and asked, "Why did you go?" "Morning jogs help your health." Lu Yunqi replied, "I'm going to take a bath and take the child to school in a while." After speaking, he turned and ran back to the room. Qi Xuanxuan looked at the sweaty face and recalled last night. Well, nothing was done, and the two of them just slept on the same bed unnaturally. When seeing Lu Yunqi's 8-pack abs that hadn't fully formed yet, Qi Xuanxuan also had an urge to go up and caress, and finally got the upper hand by reason. As for Lu Yun, he got up and said, smelling her faint fragrance, but the heat of the body was constantly reminded by the righteous scissors on the bedside. He couldn't be impulsive, he hadn't experienced it yet. When Lu Yunqi came out of the shower, the nanny had already prepared breakfast, and Qi Xuanxuan had finished breakfast first and went directly to the company. Now that Lu Yun is here, the two little treasures don't seem to stick to her anymore. "Dad, morning." Tang Tang greeted Lu Yunqi with a smile on his face when he saw Lu Yunqi in casual clothes. "Dad, good morning." Guago also turned his head, looking at his handsome father, and said in a crisp voice, "Good morning, two little babies, hurry up to finish eating, we should go to school." Lu Yun picked up the phone and checked the time. It was already past 7, and he walked to the dinner table and looked at the two little princesses. Said. The two little girls were also very cute, and they finished eating quickly, and the nanny also packed their school bags for them. Lu Yunqi himself grabbed a sandwich and took the two children into the car while eating it. The car started and drove slowly towards Alistan International Kindergarten. At the school gate, Teacher Shu still stood there waiting for the students. "Good morning, Teacher Shu." "Good morning, Teacher Shu." The two cuties smiled and greeted the teacher. "Good morning, baby, come in." Teacher Shu smiled and waved to Tang Tang and Guago. Then he looked at Lu Yun and said, "Mr. Lu, wait a moment. Baby, you two wait for the teacher here first, and the teacher will have a word with your father." Teacher Shu and the two cute little ones said, and then walked out of the school. "Teacher Shu, I don't know, what's the matter?" Lu Yunqi asked politely when he saw Teacher Shu approaching. "That's it. This weekend, the school organized a parent-child trip to the countryside. The parents of many students were confirmed in the WeChat group last night, but you haven't responded yet, so I will tell you." Teacher Shu said. "Okay, no problem. I played with the kids last night and didn't look at the phone." Lu Yunqi panicked and said, "Well, that's fine, then I'll take them in first." Teacher Shu nodded, and then left after answering. Tang Tang and Guago, standing at the door, raised their little hands high and waved to Lu Yun. "Dad, goodbye, remember to pick us up this afternoon." "Baby, in school, listen to the teacher obediently," Lu Yun said with a smile, and then promised, "Daddy will pick you up on time." After delivering the children, Lu Yunqi looked for a relatively large shopping mall nearby, bought some ingredients, and went home. Back at the villa, because it was still early, Lu Yunqi sent a WeChat message to Qi Xuanxuan, asking if he could use the computer in the room. After Qi Xuanxuan's approval, Lu Yunqi took the computer and sat in the garden. I browsed the world and some of the larger reading websites on the internet. There are all kinds of reading, such as Kadian, Kunlun, and Judian. And the books on these websites or apps are somewhat different from those on the Earth. Every book here was not on the software when he was on Earth, and Lu Yunqi had the most impressive impression of himself. The Duluo who had accompanied him for 10 years of youth, unexpectedly could not be searched in this world. Not even the potato god's fight is broken, let alone Yu Qingnian in the back. Well, it seems I can register one and try to write. After 15 minutes, I finally found and downloaded a writer's assistant app, where you can publish the books from the few websites just now, which is still relatively easy to use. Because at the beginning, I was not familiar with this key, and I didn't know what pen name I should give myself. To go to the horizon with the sword, which one is the lonely one, if the autumn wind rises, where to go back to the root. Dugu Yunqi, the name seems pretty good, Lu Yunqi said to himself, and then changed his pen name. At this time, the phone ringing suddenly rang, and when he picked it up, it was 11 o'clock. Lu Yun put away the computer and opened his mysterious breathing space. At first glance, a lot of vegetables have grown inside, such as green peppers, bitter gourds, cucumbers, carrots, eggplants and so on. He wondered if the landlady had taken the wrong bag. He threw the bag of seeds into the space, but what about the pumpkin seeds, the auntie said. I picked some vegetables from the space, especially this time a lot of green cucumbers grew out of the space, and carrots also grew well. Ding, the system mission is released, make a loving lunch for my wife, and reward master screenwriter skills. Oh, I'm going to cook for my wife, and this welfare. Hearing the voice of the system, Lu Yun almost fell to the ground with the flower melon in his hand. I originally thought that Qi Xuanxuan's company's food should be good. I only need to cook her delicious food every night. Now it seems that I have to make a loving lunch for her. With a happy mood, Lu Yunqi came to the kitchen again and began to prepare to continue performing. Auntie, why are you in the kitchen again? The chef aunt, watching Lu Yunqi walk into the kitchen, asked respectfully. Oh, at noon today, I'm going to cook zon zon and send it away, so wait a minute. Lu Yun waved his hand and ordered. Ah, uncle, you are cooking again. The chef auntie looked at Lu Yun, her eyes full of expectation. Lu Yun's amazing cooking skills last night has completely convinced her. When I heard that Lu Yunqi was cooking again, the nanny crowded around the kitchen door one by one like little fans. Soon, the first dish came out of the pot. The fresh and fragrant aroma was stronger than that of last night, and what was made was just an ordinary shredded pork with green pepper. In particular, the two chef aunts felt that they had cooked the dishes for decades, and they all did it for nothing. Why can't they produce such a flavor? Taking into account the special carrots, Lu Yunqi took out 3 of them from the space, broke one, sliced it and mixed it with pork belly, and added some garlic. As for the cucumber that can replenish qi and blood, 5 of them were taken out of the space, and now they were taken out and sliced into thin slices, and a light cucumber preserved egg soup was burnt. But when he finished cutting, he regretted it a little. Because the juice and fragrance of the cucumber cannot be kept fresh at all, and it is burned with preserved eggs. Although it is still delicious, the effect of cucumber is indeed greatly reduced. Bring me some packing boxes, thank you. After finishing all the dishes, Lu Yun turned and said to the chef. Okay, uncle. Chapter 11. A nanny ran to get the packing box. Auntie, your cooking skills are too good, this dish makes me drool a bit. Yes, auntie, especially how did you practice your hand speed, it's so fast. The two chef aunts kept flattering, their eyes full of worship. Lu Yun chuckled and said perfunctorily, cooking depends on talent, hand speed, you can't learn it. The two aunts seemed to understand something and glanced at each other. Yes, if they want the hand speed that they can practice, they really can't learn it. Soon, the nanny brought the packing box. After Lu Yunqi packed all the 4 dishes and 1 soup, he took a few green cucumbers and drove to Qi Xuanxuan to deliver meals. Half an hour later, Haochen Building. Beauty, how do you get to the president's office? Lu Yunqi came to the landmark building of Yudu for the first time, a little excited and a little flustered, walked to the front desk and asked the young lady who thought she was wearing a lady's suit. Sir, do you have an appointment with our president? The lady at the front desk asked politely. Beauty, my wife is there, I'm here to bring her food. Lu Yunqi said. Sorry, sir, you can't go to the president's office if you don't have an appointment or special permission. The smile on the face of the young lady still remained, but she thought to herself. Don't think that you are handsome and you can fool me. Why don't you say that your wife is the president? Lu Yunqi looked at the eyes of the young lady at the front desk, and the corners of his mouth moved slightly. In this society, if you tell the truth, how come no one believes it? Then, silently picked up the phone and dialed Qi Xuanxuan's number. Zan Zan, I made lunch for you in the lobby of your group, but the lady at the front desk wouldn't let me go up. Lu Yunqi said. He originally wanted to give Qi Xuanxuan a surprise, but he didn't expect the management of the Haochen group to be so strict. Well, you give the phone to the front desk, Qi Xuanxuan said. At the moment, she is sitting in the office, busy with the materials in her hand. She is very touched by Lu Yunqi giving her lunch, and since having eaten the food he cooked last night, she has completely loved it, and there is nothing else to eat. Appetite. Miss Sister, your president asked you to answer the call. Lu Yunqi handed the phone to the young lady at the front desk and said. The young lady at the front desk who answered the phone smiled and said, Hello, hello. It's me. In front of outsiders, Qi Xuanxuan is always a majestic voice, and within half a year, everyone in the entire group is very familiar with it from top to bottom. General, President. The young lady at the front desk trembled all over by the sound, and looked at Lu Yun in disbelief. The owner of this phone is surnamed Lu. Seeing him in the future will be like seeing me, understand? Okay, President, I understand, I will let Mr. Lu up in the exclusive elevator right away. The young lady replied with her mobile phone, nodded and bowed. Immediately, with some trembling hands, he returned the phone to Lu Yun, bowed deeply, and said, I'm really sorry, Mr. Lu, I don't know that you are the president, please come here. Under the leadership of the young lady at the front desk, Lu Yunqi took the president's exclusive elevator. Soon, the elevator stopped on the floor where the president's office was located. After getting out of the elevator, Lu Yunqi was taken directly by the secretary to the president's office. Pushing the door open, Lu Yunqi saw Qi Xuanxuan sitting on the boss chair and looking at the file in her hand, with a silly smile on her face. Zan Zan, well, let's put the food on the table over there first. Qi Xuanxuan looked up and said. I haven't finished reading the file in my hand. If I put it down now, I will have to read it again in a while. Lu Yun got up to the table, took out all the food, and waited restlessly. About 10 minutes later, Qi Xuanxuan finished reading the document, picked up her pen and signed her name on the last page, got up and walked out of her desk. Zan Zan, please sit down. Seeing Qi Zan Zan coming, Lu Yunqi quickly got up, and a gentleman set up a chair for her. Qi Xuanxuan sat down with a slight fatigue on her face, and said softly, Thank you. After Lu Yunqi opened all the 4 packing boxes, he picked up a carrot for Qi Xuanxuan and said, Xuanxuan, come and taste this. Qi Xuanxuan was not polite either. She put a thin slice of carrot in her mouth and chewed a few times, and her face instantly showed a satisfied expression. I had already worked hard all morning, and I was a little hungry. Now I can eat the food that Lu Yunqi made. I have seen her cooking skills last night, and I didn't expect this carrot to be more fragrant today. How is it? Is it delicious? Lu Yunqi asked expectantly. This was the first time he took out the food in the mysterious space for cooking, and he had to complete the system task. The corners of Qi Xuanxuan's mouth rose slightly, and she was moved and said, It's delicious and very fragrant. Ding, congratulations to the host for completing, making love bento for his wife, and getting praised tasks and rewards master-level screenwriting skills. Immediately, a huge group of information about the screenwriter flooded into Lu Yunqi's mind. Lu Yunqi was overjoyed. This time, the master-level screenwriting skills are really powerful. It seems that I can directly adapt the old books on Earth to the world in the future. Thinking about it makes me feel exciting. Just as Lu Yun was complacent, Qi Xuanxuan's curious voice sounded. What's in this bag? Lu Yun heard the sound and looked, and saw Qi Zan Xuanyu point to a bulging bag that looked like some strips inside and asked. Oh, this, I almost forgot, it was a few cucumbers. Lu Yunqi replied. Qi Xuanxuan's eyes lit up and said, thank you. How did you know that I like to eat raw cucumbers? Then I will wash you up. After speaking, Lu Yunqi took a cucumber with a uniform figure, about 15 or 6 centimeters long, exuding green and white luster, and quickly walked out of the office. After a while, Lu Yun went back to the office, walked to Qi Xuanxuan's side, and broke the cucumber into 2 parts with a pop, and introduced. Zan Zan, you work very hard every day. This flower melon can not only replenish vitality and blood, but also relieve mental fatigue and improve your work efficiency. Have a taste. Qi Xuanxuan looked at the cucumber in Lu Yunqi's hand, and saw that the rich juice overflowed from the break, and an appetite-enhancing fragrance spread instantly. Guru couldn't help but swallowed his saliva. While it's just broken right now, it's still fresh, hurry up and taste it. After speaking, Lu Yunqi slowly sent the half of cucumber to Qi Xuanxuan's little mouth. And Qi Xuanxuan seemed to have aroused a strong appetite by the clear fragrance, her red lips slightly opened subconsciously to cooperate with Lu Yunqi's movements. Lu Yun smiled and pushed in slowly. Her cheeks bulged slowly, her red lips pressed against the cucumber, and Qi Xuanxuan's taste buds felt unprecedented sweetness in the mouth of the juice dripping from the crack at this moment. The white teeth bit down gently. Crack. As one bite went down, more cucumber juice exploded in her mouth and flowed into the body along the esophagus. Gone. Well, it's delicious and fresh. A happy and contented expression of praise. In the next few seconds, half of the cucumber was completely wiped out by her. After eating, I stretched out my tongue and licked the juice at the corner of my mouth, and said, I don't seem to feel that tired of my mind anymore. When Lu Yunqi saw that Qi Xuanxuan liked it very much, he quickly handed the other half of the cucumber to her mouth. A hearty lunch starts with eating cucumbers. Yunqi, where did you buy the cucumber? Qi Xuanxuan picked up a cucumber after eating. Lu Yunqi was taken aback for a moment, and then said, this is what the lady I rented before gave me yesterday. He certainly couldn't tell Qi Xuanxuan that he had a breathing space, and this kind of child was indeed given by the landlord's aunt. Well, go ask, see if there are any more sold, and buy some back. This cucumber is very special. Now I feel full of vitality and my mind is clearer, Qi Xuanxuan said. Okay, as long as you like to eat, I will give you more good things to eat in the future. Lu Yun picked up the lunch box in his hand and replied. Do you want to grab my stomach? Qi Xuanxuan had finished eating a cucumber in a blink of an eye, picked up her teacup and rinsed her mouth, watching Lu Yun start to say. Lu Yun picked up the lunch box, looked at her with a touch of emotion, and said, I have to hold on to such a good wife. Facing this sudden sentence, Qi Xuanxuan felt a bit hot on her cheeks, as if a deer was bumping in her heart. Lu Yunqi, honestly explain, do you often say this to girls? Qi Xuanxuan looked at him pretentiously. Heaven and earth conscience, you are the only one, and it's the first time. Lu Yun replied with red ears. After all, it would take a lot of courage to speak such earthy words in the eyes of the goddess. Qi Xuanxuan wrapped her arms around her arms, staring at him calmly, and said, this is the first time. She knew that before Lu Yunqi set up a street stall outside the university town, there must be some lip service. She also knew that before her, Lu Yunqi had talked with a girlfriend, and she still used the kind with deep affection, but the ending was very different. Not good. It's definitely the first time. Lu Yun nodded heavily. Well, I believe it, remember to pick up the child in the afternoon. Qi Xuanxuan turned and returned to her boss chair. As soon as I sat down, I heard a knock on the door. Enter. President, this is the laptop you want. A female assistant walked up to Qi Xuanxuan with a brand new computer bag and said respectfully. Well, go out, Qi Xuanxuan said lightly with the file in her hand. The female assistant glanced at Lu Yunqi secretly, and then exited the office. Here, in order to thank you for your lunch, and reward you. Qi Xuanxuan put down the file in her hand, took the computer to Lu Yun before she got up, and said. After when Renwen went, there was a missing silver apple printed on the computer bag. Lu Yun smiled and took it over, thank you. For Lu Yun, he said that it is still very important to have a laptop of his own. After all, if he wants to write at home, it is not very convenient to use Qi Xuanxuan's computer. More importantly, he still doesn't want Qi Xuanxuan to know that while being a dad, he is also doing another part-time job. Qi Xuanxuan nodded and returned to her desk to continue working. Lu Yunqi also packed up her things, said goodbye, and left Haochen building. Back at the villa, Lu Yunqi held the computer and sat in the garden. The assistant platform has been registered, and now it is time to think about what book to write. There is still a certain difference between the literature of this world and the earth. According to Lu Yunqi's observations, whether it is current reading or starting point, the two platforms are mainly fantasy and urban. Well, just write about the Dragon Ba Bu that I like to watch when I am young. I probably remember the plot, so I think I will reminisce about my childhood. After making a good decision, Lu Yunqi started to create a work on his assistant, Ba Bu of Heavenly Dragon. The next step is the code word. Although Kedian's review is relatively strict, to Lu Yun, he said that he is not worried about whether this book will be reviewed. This is a classic work on Earth, and review is necessary. Gone. The fingers began to jump quickly on the computer. There was a crackling sound. It wasn't until 4 o'clock in the afternoon when the mobile phone alarm sounded that Lu Yunqi stopped his movements. Took a breath. When I came back from Qi Xuanxuan's company, it was about 2 o'clock, and now I have written nearly 20,000 words. I feel full of accomplishment. Click to publish directly. Generally, Kadian's new book review takes 1 to 2 days, so the next step is to wait for the review on the platform. After the release, I put away my computer and went out. Came to the school gate and just parked the car. A Lamborghini parked beside Lu Yunqi's car. The cool scissor door slowly opened, and a pair of shiny little leather shoes stretched out from the car. Then, a man in a small black suit, who looked like a man in his 20s, got out of the car. The slightly thick lips, shallow dimples, and a pair of small eyes are greatly enlarged by the brown eyeliner. They look a bit handsome when paired with the brown Korean Chinese style. At first glance, it was like a flower-picking thief in the rivers and lakes, and he wanted to attack an innocent flower bone. Buddy, pick up the kids. The man raised his eyebrows at Lu Yun. Lu Yun was startled, nodded and said, well, pick up my daughter. I don't know if this guy's thinking is too avant-garde or his brain is pitted. I go to kindergarten and don't pick up children. Is it because I came to see beautiful women? However, seeing his handsome appearance, he had no choice but to respond. Hey, then our goal is different. With this smile, the dimples on the man's face were deeper, and he even subconsciously stretched out an orchid finger to cover his mouth. I lost it. Lu Yunqi wanted to say, buddy, did you just come back from Taiguo? Man, what do you call it? The man took a look at Lu Yunqi's clothes, looked at the car behind him, and started to make friends. My name is Yu Chuan, and my future girlfriend will teach here. Oh, my name is Lu Yunqi, and my daughter is studying here. Lu Yunqi said with a faint smile. Hey, the relationship is good, maybe your daughter is studying in my future girlfriend's class. Yu Chuan chuckled. It should not be possible. Lu Yunqi shook his head in his heart, and replied. He naturally met his daughter's teacher. Judging from his current impression, Shumin would like this one. At this time, school time has come. Suddenly, all the parents lined up in an orderly manner, one by one to pick up their baby in the car. Dad, Daddy, Tang Tang and Guago waved their little hands excitedly and greeted Lu Yunqi. Lu Yunqi also waved to the two cute little ones. Looking at the smiles on the faces of the two sisters, he knew that today was another happy day at school. The two cuties were still being led by Shumin and were walking towards the school gate. The expressions of the two sisters were very happy, but Shumin's face was a little depressed, and even a little dull when she reached the door. What's the situation? When Yu Chuan on the side saw Shumin, his eyes were shining brightly, and he looked very excited. Your daughter is the twins. Yu Chuan was a little surprised, and looked at Lu Yunqi with a trace of envy in his eyes. Well, what about your future girlfriend? Lu Yun nodded his head and asked rhetorically. Here, your daughter's teacher is my future girlfriend. Yu Chuan pointed to the renewed life standing at the school gate with a dull expression. Gone. Is it true that I guessed it? Lu Yun smiled and did not speak. Dad, hug. The two little cuties walked out of the school gate, opened their hands and threw into Lu Yun's arms. Lu Yun picked up one with one hand skillfully, and said, Are you happy at school today? After speaking, they kissed each of the two little babies. Tang Tang is very happy today. Guago is also very happy. The two obviously filtered out those unhappy things, and replied with a smile. Well, that's good. Lu Yun smiled, then looked at Shu Min inside the school gate and said, Mr. Shu, thank you for taking care of them. Shu Min squeezed out a smile and said, in the past 2 days, the two little babies have performed very well, and they are much more active than before. Lu Yunqi was also very pleased to hear that, at least after he came, the childhood of these two little princesses began to slowly become more interesting. At this moment, Yu Chuan came over, looked at Shu Min and smiled and said, Mr. Shu, let's go on a date. Shu Min looked at Yu Chuan and frowned slightly, obviously disgusted, with an embarrassed face that he didn't know how to answer. This buddy is too direct, too tigery. Didn't you even see the disgusting color on Teacher Shu's face? The people around who have not left, especially Lu Yunqi, holding the two little princesses, almost staggered when they heard Yu Chuan's blunt words. Finally, I couldn't help it, and laughed out loud. Dad, that uncle is a good mother. Tang Tang said milkily as she watched Yu Chuan's milk. Ah, baby, let's go home, this picture doesn't suit us. Lu Yun smiled and shook his head, and said to Tang Tang and Guago. So he went home with the two treasures. After returning home, just like yesterday, Lu Yun started to cook in the kitchen. The two chef aunts are now his assistants, fans to be precise. As long as Lu Yunqi is cooking in the kitchen, there must be a lot of people watching behind. When Qi Xuanxuan came back, Lu Yunqi's meal was just finished. Since no one came to eat dinner today, Lu Yunqi only made 4 dishes and 1 soup, which was enough for their own family of 4. Qi Xuanxuan didn't care about this, because as long as it was Lu Yunqi's food, she could eat very deliciously. After eating, Lu Yunqi took the two sisters to watch the cartoon and played with toys for a while before being taken to the bath by the nanny. Until 9 o'clock in the evening, the two sisters fell asleep in the sound of Lu Yunqi's story. Lu Yunqi kissed the pink cheeks of the two cute little ones before leaving the room. When he returned to the room, he saw Qi Xuanxuan still working hard in the study. Qi Xuanxuan's study is a cubicle in their room, so that it is convenient for her to work. Standing at the door, Lu Yun found that Qi Xuanxuan, who was immersed in work, was very beautiful, saying that men who work hard are handsome, but women who work hard are also beautiful. He did not go directly to disturb her, but exited the room and went downstairs to make a cup of coffee. Isn't it done? Lu Yun pushed open the compartment door, walked to Qi Xuanxuan's side, put down his coffee and asked with concern. Thank you, there are still some documents I haven't finished reading. Qi Xuanxuan put down the documents in her hand and replied with her coffee. Lu Yun glanced at the mountain of folders on the table, then looked at Qi Xuanxuan's tired expression, and said in a deep voice, as the company boss, don't you have any special help? Qi Xuanxuan sighed, and after taking a sip of coffee, she said helplessly, not long after I took over the company, I still have to understand many things personally. Lu Yunqi was also secretly saddened. Although he has a system in hand, he really doesn't know anything about business matters. Especially for a company as big as Haochen Group, he is helpless. You go to bed first, I'll come after reading. Qi Xuanxuan put down her coffee and said with a tired voice. Ding, trigger the system task, give the wife a massage, get a satisfactory evaluation, and reward the title of Chinese Little Music Library. What is it? The Chinese Little Music Library? Or the title? Does this title have any use? Lu Yunqi did not leave in a hurry, but went to the sofa next to him, asking in surprise in his heart. After wearing the title, it is permanently effective, and the host can obtain many classic divine songs, which are not available in this world. The cold voice of the system explained. It turns out that this is the case, so I can move all the classic music on the earth to this world. Lu Yunqi started to get excited in his heart. Yes, host. Lu Yunqi nodded in satisfaction. When I was on the earth, although I didn't know how to sing any songs, I still knew a lot about some familiar songs. Making up his mind, Lu Yun plucked up his courage, walked behind Qi Xuanxuan, and gently placed both hands on Qi Xuanxuan's fragrant shoulders. What are you doing? Qi Xuanxuan frowned slightly, the folder in her hand almost fell on the table, a trace of panic appeared in her eyes. I can't sleep anyway, I will give you a massage to help you relieve fatigue and dredge the meridians. Lu Yunqi said, his hands began to press on his shoulders slightly. Every acupuncture point of the human body, as long as it is pressed slightly, a little bit will be slightly concave. As long as the acupuncture point is pressed correctly, it will feel sore. Originally, Chizan wanted to say something to refuse, but when the tingling and sore feeling came, the words came to her mouth and swallowed back. With the rhythm of Lu Yunqi's massage, she couldn't help but hear a low moan, her ears became flushed, and her cheeks were slightly hot. Grit your teeth, simply put down the folder, close your eyes, and enjoy it. At this moment, Lu Yunqi felt like a cat scratching. Although he was separated from his clothes, he could clearly feel Qi Xuanxuan's soft skin. Especially the faint fragrance of her body also drifted into his nose, making his head a little groggy. The most important thing is that, because she was standing behind Qi Xuanxuan and massaging, she just happened to be able to see the gap between her towering places and the looming mountains. Guru, Lu Yunqi couldn't help but swallowed his saliva, forcibly suppressed the throbbing in his heart, and concentrated on massaging. After pressing the acupuncture points on the shoulders and necks, go around the head, especially the temples, 3 times clockwise, gently press, and slowly relax. Repeating the action a few times makes it obvious that the whole person is much easier. A few minutes later, Qi Xuanxuan was completely relaxed, no longer in that tight state, immersed in the numbness of the massage. Is it okay for me? Lu Yun raised both index fingers and gently rubbed Qi Xuanxuan's temples, and asked softly. Have you studied before? Qi Xuanxuan asked in a very soft voice, who was extremely enjoying. I followed my ancestors to school for a few days since I was a child. How is it? Are you satisfied? Well, satisfied, Qi Xuanxuan replied. Ding, congratulations to the host for completing the mission and winning the title of Chinese Little Music Library. As the system sounded, a huge amount of information flooded into Lu Yunqi's mind. It was full of information about the classic songs on the earth, including lyrics, composing and so on. Now if you give me a perfect voice, I think I can become a top singer in the music scene. Host, people must know how to be satisfied, not too greedy, otherwise it will become shorter. The system attacked unceremoniously. Lu Yunqi's face was full of black lines. I just talk about it casually, is your system serious? Am I the host, or are you the host? Of course, he only dared to think about these words in his mind, not even in his heart, otherwise he would be known by the system. About 10 minutes later, Lu Yunqi had already pressed his shoulders, neck and head, and wiped the sweat from his forehead. Madam, I'll press your back and legs next. Why don't you lie down on the bed? No, I still have files to look at. Qi Xuanxuan recovered from her enjoyment, resisting the urge to continue, and said. Under Lu Yunqi's massage just now, she, who was originally exhausted, feels that her body and mind are now particularly relaxed and in good condition. The most important thing was that she was worried about pressing it down according to Lu Yunqi's massage technique. She was really afraid that she would sink into it and couldn't help herself. The technique, strength, acupuncture points, everything was mastered so precisely that Qi Xuanxuan was full of appreciation, but it was not expressed. The files can't be finished, and you can't make yourself too tired. Lu Yunqi persuaded. Qi Xuanxuan turned her head, looked at him suspiciously, and said, You want to take this opportunity to do something to me. You are pure slander. Okay, I'm not going to talk to you anymore, you go to bed quickly, I'll come after reading this. After speaking, Qi Xuanxuan turned around and began to look at the file seriously. Seeing this, Lu Yun said with a serious expression, This is a very special massage technique. I have to press the main acupuncture points at one time, otherwise it will be counterproductive to your body, so let me press it for you, and you continue. Look at the file, okay. The acupuncture points, meridians and collaterals of the human body are consistent and the same, so if you only press certain acupuncture points while not pressing the others, the effect will only be counterproductive. Qi Xuanxuan was still not deceived by Lu Yunqi's seemingly plausible remarks, but her peripheral vision was always watching Lu Yunqi, wanting to see what excuses and reasons this idiot could find. I take it as your default. Lu Yun didn't get any ink marks, and suddenly bent over and arrogantly lifted Qi Xuanxuan from her chair. Qi Xuanxuan, who was full of consternation, let out a scream, but subconsciously wrapped her arms around Lu Yun's neck. Hey, I can't press it anymore, what are you doing? Qi Xuanxuan's heartbeat speeded up, but she didn't expect that the seemingly docile man also had such a domineering side. Being held by such a princess, her beautiful face was red like a ripe apple. The small fist kept flapping on Lu Yunqi's firm chest, and his soft body kept squirming and struggling in his arms. Lu Yunqi held the beauty in his arms, and the intimate friction on his body caused his body temperature to rise several degrees in an instant. Accelerating the pace, she walked to the side of the bed and put Qi Xuanxuan gently on the bed. "Ah, Lu Yunqi, you, bully me." Qi Xuanxuan's grievances all over her face, like a little Zhao wife who was bullied, she said with her mouth closed. "I said no, why is this guy still using strong? I don't have it." Seeing Qi Xuanxuan's charming appearance, Lu Yun couldn't speak clearly. "Wow, I thought you were a reasonable man who loves me, but I didn't expect you to be a rude and unreasonable bad man. My husband is 1,000 chosen husband. How can this be? Ah, my life is terrible." Qi Xuanxuan suddenly raised her hand to cover her face, crying. Lu Yun was also dumbfounded when he saw a woman crying. He became confused and quickly said, "Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. Can you feel there is a gas in the vest now?" Unobstructed. Qi Xuanxuan felt it carefully. It was exactly as Lu Yunqi had said. Spreading his fingers slightly apart, he peeked at Lu Yunqi's flustered expression, feeling sweet in his heart. Then you hurry up." Qi Xuanxuan turned over and lay on the bed, her face covered by the quilt. Her voice was a little vaguely said. Lu Yunqi. Sure enough, women are fickle. Seeing her move quickly, she feels fooled. A little bitter smile. Turning around, Qi Xuanxuan's cool clothes, slender waist, slender buttocks, a pair of slender straight legs, all over the eyes, the blood began to flow all over her body. With such a seductive posture, can you still get a good massage? Hurry up, I really still have documents to look at. Qi Xuanxuan lay down for a while and saw that Lu Yunqi hadn't moved yet, so she urged. Oh, okay, let's start right away." Lu Yun swallowed his saliva, forcibly suppressing the distracting thoughts in his heart. Another 15 minutes passed. With Lu Yun's breath of hot air coming out of his mouth, the whole body massage ended perfectly. Qi Xuanxuan, who was lying on the bed, didn't want to get up. The wonderful journey just now made her indulge in it and let out some happy moans from time to time. After Lu Yun's hand, every pore on Qi Xuanxuan's body seemed to relax. Fragrant sweat slowly emerged from the body, and the whole person felt extremely relaxed. Lu Yunqi was sweating profusely, and his breathing became a lot slower, but seeing Qi Xuanxuan's face of happiness and enjoyment, this sweat was worth it. Is it comfortable? Lu Yunqi looked at Qi Xuanxuan still lying on the bed with a satisfied expression on her face. Well, I don't want to get up. Qi Xuanxuan nodded shyly with a blushing face. I just sweated, then take a bath and sleep beautifully. Lu Yun started. Well, you go and wash it first. Qi Xuanxuan said weakly. Lu Yunqi didn't say anything more. After the massage, it was best to lie down on the bed for a while and then get up, so he took his clothes and walked into the bathroom. When he came out of the shower, Qi Xuanxuan was already asleep in the bed. How tiring this is. Lu Yunqi sighed, and when he was about to cover her with a quilt, Qi Xuanxuan suddenly opened her eyes. You have finished washing, then I will take a bath too. Qi Xuanxuan said that she was about to get up. But this one just got together. Before he stood up, his feet were soft, and he threw directly into Lu Yunqi's arms. Being caught by Lu Yunqi, her pretty face pressed tightly to her chest, a jade hand stretched into the bathrobe in a hurry and touched the firm chest muscles. She wanted to take it back, but her little hand did not let her behave, subconsciously walked up the muscle line. This night is destined to be a not too quiet night. The next day, Qi Xuanxuan woke up at almost 9 o'clock, and she didn't even have time to eat breakfast, so she drew light makeup on the car. Lu Yunqi got up early in the morning, sent the 2 little babies to school, and returned to the villa. I took out my computer and turned on the writer's assistant, and saw an unread writer's consultation message. Click to take a look. Hello writer, your work, Tian Long Ba Bu, has been reviewed and has reached the signing standard. Please wait for the follow-up system notification for the signing process. During the signing period, please do not modify the title and author name by yourself. If you need to change it, please contact as soon as possible your editor. When adding the editor QQ, please note your book title and author name. Editor-in-charge Hoyan, contact information, 4x. Well, as I expected. After the new book passed the review, what Lu Yunqi had to do was to continue to move the story according to the original work of Tianlong Babu and then publish it. The process of codewords is always so boring. This world does not yet have those classic works on the earth, so moving here can be regarded as letting people here also look at the essence of Earth's literature. I made up my mind, sat alone in the garden, and started the code word. Haochen Building. Inside the president's office. Qi Xuanxuan sat in the boss chair. In front stood a woman in professional attire, about 40 years old, holding a folder in her hand and reporting on her mouth. President, our entertainment company has not had any new works for a long time, so this quarter's financial report. This person is Haochen Group, the general manager of the entertainment company, Ningnanan. Does the company have any good plans now? Qi Xuanxuan asked, sitting on the boss chair, looking at the documents in her hand, frowning. Since she took over the group, the entertainment company has always assured her that the company has its own film and television resources, and the staffing in this area is relatively complete, while the film and songs are relatively weak. However, if any entertainment company does not produce new works for a long time, it will definitely have some impact on the company's reputation. We are going to find some novels that can be adapted into film and television dramas on major online novel platforms, because novels come with original fans, which can reduce some risks. Ningnanan answered truthfully. Yes, but pay attention to selection. Find a book that is popular and has a good reputation. You can take care of the specific matters. Regarding entertainment, Qi Xuanxuan does not have much time to hesitate now. After all, the entire Haochen Group is running with such a huge machine, it is impossible for her to pay attention to the problem of only one component. Okay, then I will go to Kidian literature to find it in the past few days, and then I will summarize it and report it. Kidian Literature Network. This is the novel website that can shoot the most high-scoring film and television dramas. Although the copyright cost is high, as long as you don't look at it, you will basically not lose too much. Well, you just need to do this. Qi Xuanxuan nodded. Although she doesn't have much time to read online novels, she has heard of Kidian.com. It is very famous across the country and is a famous high-quality website. At this moment, Qi Xuanxuan's phone vibrated. After a glance, he found that it was the message from Lu Yun, smiled lightly, raised his head and said to Ningnanan, "Is there anything else?" "No, then I'll go back first." Ningnanan saw that Qi Xuanxuan's cold face had a smile on her mobile phone message, and left with interest. After Ningnanan went out, Qi Xuanxuan picked up the phone and clicked on it. "What do you want to eat at noon today? Welcome to order." He held his chin in thought for a while, and typed out the names of several dishes. Cucumbers, sirloin potatoes, celery and chicken shreds, shredded cabbage, are some of the relatively light home cooking. In the villa, Lu Yunqi, who was in the code word, received Qi Xuanxuan's reply. At first glance, it was 11 o'clock. He got up and clapped his hands, and finished 30,000 words in a long time. I looked at the mysterious space again. Potatoes and cucumbers are available, but for celery and Chinese cabbage, I have to look at the refrigerator. Lu Yun got up and went to the kitchen. Now the chef ladies took the initiative to move away and handed over the stage to him. After preparing lunch for Qi Xuanxuan, Lu Yun started to drive to Haochen Building. The other side, the editorial department of Kidian Literature Network. A man with small glasses and a round face suddenly ran into the editor's office. Before the editor-in-chief could speak, the man said excitedly, "Editor-in-chief, editor-in-chief, I found a very good book, and I hope to become the newcomer of our website this year." The man who couldn't wait to speak was the editor of Kidian Literature. His name was Zhou Yan, who was also the assistant on Hoyan. Really, an old man wearing a tang suit with a certain literary temperament sat at his desk. "This is the editor-in-chief of Kidian Literature Network." "What book?" "A martial arts novel," Zhou Yan replied. "Martial arts novels." Hearing this, the editor-in-chief frowned slightly, and continued to ask, "What is the title of the book? Let me see." "Just released yesterday, Tianlong Babu." Soon, the editor-in-chief found Zhou Yan's Babu Tianlong from the backstage, and began to look at it seriously. Because Lu Yunqi did not upload many chapters, he had already expressed the overall structure of the book, but, despite this, the editor-in-chief still looked at it word by word. The expression on his face changed several times, from disapproval at the beginning, to the immense shock at the back, until he was deeply immersed in it. The bizarre and tortuous story, the full character setting, the extensive historical background, the huge martial arts battle, the human nature, joy, anger, and sadness are all displayed incisively and vividly. After half an hour passed, the editor-in-chief finally took his gaze back from the computer, stood up, looked at Zhou Yan with admiration, and said, "Yes, this time you are very visionary. This author has profound writing skills, even if I am not as good as him. What is it?" "Everyone's work. It's not a big boss, but a newcomer," Zhou Yan replied. "Newcomer." The editor-in-chief looked at Zhou Yan in surprise, frowning. "Then I opened the backstage of the website and found the author's registration information. I was stunned to see the complete individual, so young. According to the information registered in the background, the age is only 25 years old. At this age, I just graduated from college. How could there be such a sophisticated writing? This is definitely a genius, a literary genius. This kind of good seed must not be robbed by other websites." You immediately put aside all your work, and specifically contact the author of Dugu Yunqi, and plan to sign an exclusive contract for him. All the treatments are favorable, and he must be signed. "Understood, I'll go right away." Zhou Yan agreed immediately, as if remembering something, and then asked the editor, "How should we arrange this recommendation?" "You don't need to worry about this. I will put this book directly on the banner on the front page, and then give it a big seal," the editor-in-chief said with some excitement. "You go to him to sign the contract now, or wait." When other websites reacted, we lost the initiative. Zhou Yan left the editor's office and was shocked at the thought of the editor's performance just now. I wanted to find the editor-in-chief for a better recommendation. After all, for an editor, the better the performance of his work, the more bonus he will get. Unexpectedly, the editor-in-chief, after reading the book, looked like he was afraid of being poached by other websites, and urged him to find the author to sign a contract. What was more unexpected was that it was actually a special contract. This contract is the big god's contract in the big god's contract. Lu Yunqi returned to the villa after delivering lunch to Qi Xuanxuan. "Because tomorrow weekend, I will bring Tang Tang and Guago to the school's rural activities, so I have to save the code in the afternoon." Just like yesterday, between 2 and 4, Lu Yun had at least 30,000 words in 2 hours, enough to post in these 2 days. After all, he hasn't signed a contract yet, and he doesn't need to post so much. After picking up the 2 little princesses and returning home in the evening, they cooked a sumptuous dinner for the 2 of them as usual, and the food they used was taken from their mysterious space. The next day, Lu Yun got up early in the morning, and the 2 little babies also got up very early today. "Dad, we are going out to play today, are you happy?" Lu Yun picked up one in one hand, and said in a petting way. "Happy, as long as you are with Dad, you are happy no matter what you do," Tang Tang said with a grin. Not to be outdone, Guago said, Guago is also very happy, and finally she can go out to play with her father. "It's almost time, let's go quickly," Qi Xuanxuan reminded her in a rare sportswear today. "Let's go, we should go to school together." Lu Yun picked up the 2 little princesses and walked out of the villa. "When I came to the garage, I chose a Mercedes-Benz RV, put the 2 little girls on the child seats in the back row, and walked into the cab." Qi Xuanxuan naturally sits in the position of the co-pilot. Although the 2 people have lived together for 2 days, they have gradually begun to blend in with each other. Lu Yunqi drove Qi Xuanxuan and Tang Tang Tanguo and the family went to Alistan Kindergarten. The whole car was filled with various outdoor products and family clothing. Because this event is 2 days in total, and I have to spend the night in the country. When we arrived at the school, many parents had already arrived. After Lu Yun started to park the car, he went down to report to Mr. Xu Min. In this event, there are altogether dozens of children from the entire Alistan kindergarten class. Because it is an aristocratic school, all of these parents are very valuable. Most parents drive their own RVs. There are a few families who do not drive RVs. They regretted this situation. They are not unable to afford an RV, but feel that it is more meaningful to camp out with their children. As a result, it was hasty. Before the army set off, Min gathered all the parent representatives of the entire class together and began to speak, mainly to talk about the main purpose of the event. According to Min, the main purpose of this event is threefold. First, to enhance the parent-child relationship, considering that parents are usually very busy at work and do not have time to accompany their children. This is not conducive to the growth of the child, and it is not conducive to the development of the parent-child relationship. Therefore, the school specially organized this activity to promote the parent-child relationship, development of. The second is to let the children in these big cities experience purely ecological nature, feel nature, get close to nature, and experience a different environment. The third is to let the children experience the country life and feel the hardships of life. At this point, it has been recognized by most parents. Because Alistan is an aristocratic school. Those who can study in this school are rich or noble. The children grow up with golden keys. They don't know the hardships of life at all. This is important to the growth of children. Adverse. Min's eye spoke carefully. Lu Yunqi has been listening carefully. This is the first time he has participated in school activities as a parent, and he is still very excited. After all the precautions have been explained, the large group is ready to set off. At this time, the bright purple Lamborghini appeared again and stopped in front of Min. After the cool scissor door was opened, Yu Chuan, who was dressed in casual clothes but still couldn't get rid of the handsome temperament, walked down. "Beautiful lady, please get in the car." Walking to Min, bending over and making an inviting gesture, said with a smile. Min, who had a smiling face, stepped down in an instant, and said coldly, "Our school has a car, and please stay away from me. If you harass me like this, I will call the police." After speaking, he turned and walked to a minibus prepared by the school. Yu Chuan was left looking at Min's graceful figure and sighed secretly. How can you save face when chasing a woman? Stalker is king. He nodded heavily, and got into his car and followed the butt of the minibus. The entire convoy formed a magnificent landscape on the high speed. After driving for more than 4 hours, I came to a deep mountain, almost isolated from the world, far more remote than Lu Yunqi's hometown. Since I got off the highway, dozens of RVs were walking on the alternate roads. Many people took out their mobile phones to take pictures. They thought which crew brought the big star to the ravine to take pictures. Finally, after arriving at the destination, many parents began to exclaim that this is really a remote country. If the school hadn't organized everyone to come, these people would not know that it was more than 4 hours drive from Yudu. Such a place. Although poor, the air quality is absolutely nothing to say. All kinds of flowers, fruits and trees are scattered all over the mountains and plains, like a fairyland. It seems that this school activity is going to let everyone remember their bitterness and sweetness. Lu Yun got out of the car, moved his legs and feet, looked at the plumes of smoke on the mountainside, and sighed. Qi Xuanxuan also got down from the co-pilot, moved her lower body, took 2 deep breaths of the fresh air here, her eyes closed slightly, as if embracing nature. Wow, it's so beautiful here. Tang Tang was hugged by Lu Yun and got out of the car, and exclaimed loudly. Wow, elder sister, look at the butterfly there. After Guago got out of the car, she pulled Tang Tang's clothes excitedly and said, pointing to a field of rapeseed flowers. Okay, baby, we should go to the teacher to gather. Seeing the 2 daughters so happy, Lu Yunqi couldn't bear to interrupt him, but he had to report to the teacher first. When he just squatted down and was about to pick up the 2 cuties, the phone suddenly rang. I picked it up and saw that it was my mother who called and hung up the phone decisively, and first took my daughter to report to the teacher. Why don't you answer the phone? Qi Xuanxuan just noticed Lu Yun's move to hang up, and asked curiously. My mother called, I will take them to the teacher's assembly first, and then I'll return to her in a while. Lu Yunqi explained, then picked up the 2 babies and went to the teacher's assembly. Standing in place, Qi Xuanxuan seemed a little nervous. I have been busy with company affairs for the past 2 days, and I haven't had time to meet Lu Yunqi's parents. Although she had already customized things for marriage, she just waited for Lu Yunqi's account book. Lu Yunqi brought the children to the meeting point. This time the school has prepared many activities, which basically require the participation of parents and children. For example, in the rice transplanting competition organized by the family, everyone is given the same face for transplanting rice. Everyone starts the competition at the same time. Whoever finishes transplanting first wins the championship. Moreover, the school also sets up rewards and medals for the champions, as well as some local ones. Local specialty bacon. In Lu Yunqi's view, this is basically the same as a variety show on Earth Mountain. However, this event is all paid for by the parents of the children. Of course, these parents are not short of money. Even on such a large scale, it will definitely cost a lot. Also within their tolerance. After some organization, the first game is about to kick off. At this time, a system prompt sounded in Lu Yunqi's mind. Ding, system task, lead the baby to win the champion of seedling transplanting competition and gain business talent. Business talent, what the hell is this? Lu Yunqi asked curiously. Business talent, as the name suggests, is to make the host a business-minded person, not a salted fish. The system explained in a slightly mocking tone. Okay, I'm so ironic ed by the system that Shanyu sometimes turns over, don't you know? Lu Yunqi couldn't help but want to complain, but in the end he endured it. After all, he is no different from a salted fish. If there is a difference, it is that he is now a salted fish eating golden soft rice. The rice planting competition has officially started. Every family is a parent plus their own children. The children are very excited because they are stepping in the mud for the first time, just like Peppa, playing happily. What surprised Lu Yunqi was that this time, Qi Xuanxuan, the cold goddess, went down to the field with her trouser legs and bare feet. This eldest daughter, who grew up holding a golden key in her hands, actually went to the fields. If Bai Cha saw this, she would have to talk about it for several days. Qi Xuanxuan walked to the ridge, and hesitantly asked Lu Yunqi, who was waiting for her to come down in the field, there are no insects in this field. No, not only is there no insects here, this soil also has the effect of sterilizing, and occasionally stepping on it is good for your body. Lu Yunqi explained. For this person who grew up in the countryside in the previous life and came out of the countryside in this life, he is quite familiar with the mud field. Real, of course. Lu Yun nodded heavily. Then help me, I'm afraid of falling in. Qi Xuanxuan whispered. Lu Yun stretched out his hand to support Qi Xuanxuan, who slowly stepped his foot in the mud. Of course, this situation is not limited to Qi Xuanxuan, the other families are more embarrassed than them, because they are all wealthy people who have not done any farm work. Many parents are still standing on the ridge tentatively. Mom, you are so courageous, we are not afraid, mother, come on. Tang Tang, who had been playing like two little clay figures, laughed mercilessly and encouraged. Yeah, Mom, come down quickly, it's fun in this. Guago said milkily if he hadn't heard the voice and couldn't recognize who it was. When Qi Xuanxuan heard this, one staggered and almost fell into the field. Then she looked at the two little mischiefs, fiercely, and said, you two, let's see how I can deal with you in a while. After speaking, she stepped both feet into the soil, but as soon as she stepped in, a frog sprang out from the side. After Qi Xuanxuan screamed in fright, she threw herself into Lu Yun's arms. He wrapped his arms around Lu Yun's neck, and his feet hooked his thighs indecently. The whole person hung on Lu Yun's body like this, his face turned pale with fright, and his feet did not dare to touch the ground. Qi Xuanxuan was taken aback by the frog, while Lu Yunqi was taken aback by Qi Xuanxuan's sudden action. After reacting, she couldn't help but laugh, stretched out her hand to support Qi Xuanxuan's buttocks, and hugged her on her body. You are not allowed to laugh. Qi Xuanxuan, who was held in her arms, flushed, pretending to be angry. Ha ha, Mom, that's just a frog, you are too timid. Tang Tang and Guago were amused by their mother's actions, and laughed together. Lu Yunqi looked at Qi Xuanxuan who was close at hand in his arms, and said softly, okay, I won't laugh anymore, it's just a frog, it's okay. After finishing speaking, holding a smile, his face flushed a little. Lu Yunqi, is it funny, isn't it? Qi Xuanxuan gritted her teeth, then stepped down from him, and pinched Lu Yunqi's backhand. The whole family laughed and laughed in their rice planting fields. At the end of the game, there was no suspense. Lu Yunqi won the championship. There is no way, who would let him be a rural person among all the parents. Many of the parents don't even know what to plant rice seedlings, let alone how to plant rice seedlings. As for Lu Yun, he said that he had been doing farm work with his parents since he was a child. Although he hasn't done much since he was in high school, it is not easy to forget where the skills are. Moreover, the work of their family is basically Lu Yun's castle alone. In addition to constantly asking how to intervene, Qi Xuanxuan is constantly in a daze watching the show. As for the two little princesses, they are all here to play in the mud. Lu Yunqi won the championship with a huge advantage. Tang Tang and Guago went up to get medals. The two little girls were so excited and proud that they rushed to Lu Yun's feet and took a kiss. "Dad, you are amazing. Dad, Daddy, you are the best." Lu Yun hugged the two little clay figurines, wanting to kiss each other, but couldn't find a place to slap their mouths, and finally had to scrape the bridges of their noses. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing the task, successfully winning the champion of the seedling planting competition, and gaining business talent. Immediately, the reminder of task completion sounded in Lu Yunqi's mind. How does this work? The system will automatically add it, pay attention. Before the voice of the system was finished, Lu Yunqi felt that his IQ had improved a lot. At this moment, he felt that he understood a lot of business routines. After the game in the morning, everyone went back to their RV to change their clothes, and those parents who did not drive the RV were placed in the nearby farmer's house. While Qi Xuanxuan was bathing and changing clothes, Lu Yun was outside the RV, preparing to call his mother back. At this moment, an unfamiliar call came in. "Hello, who? Hello, I am the editor of Cultivating Literature Network. My name is Zhou Yan, are you Du Guyan Kita?" There was a thick male voice on the other end of the phone. Lu Yunqi heard the call from KultivatingLiterature.com, and looked at the car. After Qi Xuanxuan hadn't taken a bath yet, and after a few steps away, he replied, "Yes, what's the matter?" Hello, let me introduce myself. My name is Zhou Yan. I am in charge of the editor of your new book. I would take the liberty to call me if I would bother you. I read the chapter of your new book released today and want to discuss the contract with you." The contract matter. Lu Yunqi knew that he would accompany his daughter to participate in this in-person event these 2 days, so yesterday afternoon, he had already set up a scheduled delivery. And what makes him curious is that it is generally not the author who takes the initiative to add the contact information of the editor, and then the online agreement is agreed, and the author himself prints it out and expresses it. Why is there a special call? Yes, we intend to sign a special contract for you. All treatment conditions can be negotiated, but our condition is that you can only publish novels on our website during the validity period of the contract. On the other end of the phone, Zhou Yan said, as if he was afraid that Lu Yunqi would find this too restrictive. He immediately explained, "Of course, as long as it is not a matter of principle, we will not interfere with your creation, and we will also arrange for you the best recommendation, waiting for a list of items." Lu Yunqi listened attentively, sighing in his heart. "I originally thought that the editor in charge was very cold, but now I realize that I was wrong. What exactly does the contract look like?" Lu Yun raised his mouth slightly and asked with interest. Judging from the current description of the editor in charge, it is still very good. Originally, Cultivating Literature Network is a very strict website. You may be able to fish in troubled waters on other websites, but here, you can only touch yourself, and someone has arranged a recommendation. If you don't work hard, it's just for nothing. Of course, this is not a problem at all for Lu Yun, who has great writing skills. Just look at the treatment. Zhou Yan didn't talk about the specific contract, but asked, "Yunqi is mostly in Udo. Or when we meet, you can check the contract first. It's in Udo, but I don't have time for these 2 days. I'm in the countryside. Let's make an appointment when I return to Udo the day after tomorrow." Lu Yunqi said truthfully. There was silence on the other end of the phone, and then he said, "That's okay. When I'm calling you, I'll make an appointment with you, and I will go over with the contract directly." Then the two had a chat, and then hung up. When he just finished hanging up the phone and was about to change hands to call his mother, he heard the assembly horn blow. "Tang Tang, Guago, we should go to assemble." Lu Yunqi helplessly shook his head, walked into the RV, and called out the two little princesses who were watching cartoons. Okay. The two jumped off the bed excitedly. Qi Xuanxuan also got up and put on her shoes. After all, in this RV, they have prepared a lot of things. To be precise, Assistant Qi Xuanxuan has prepared a lot for them. Arrived at the meeting point, there will be a competition to catch fish in the afternoon. Before the game started, the system actually released another task. Ding! System task: lead the baby to win the championship in the fish catching competition, and reward the master piano skills. When Lu Yun heard this, a wry smile appeared on his face. You just gave me some skills. Although they were practical, they didn't give me the cash to be practical. According to this, I can only climb to the top of my wife. Host, don't be discouraged, you are still growing up in your life, there is always a chance, come on, look good on you. The system seemed to hear Lu Yunqi's voice and said something playfully. Gone, take back your mind and prepare for the game. This time the competition was still in the mud field, but this time the water in the field was a little deeper. Tang, Guago, and Qi Xuanxuan, the three of them stood on the ridge, holding the fish basket, waiting for the fish to be loaded. That's it. 1, 2, 3. Article 32. 20 minutes into the game, Lu Yun had already caught 32 fish. Although they are all small crucian carp in 2s and 3s, sometimes they can catch 2 or 3 in one hand, and the area of the mud field is not large, but there are a lot of fish. Tang and Guago were so happy that the fish baskets in their hands were already filled with several fishes, while the fish baskets of the other friends were still empty. Until the end of the game, there was no suspense. Lu Yunqi once again won the championship of the fish catching competition with sugar and fruit. The two little girls were extremely excited. In front of their little friends, they kept showing off how powerful their father was and caught so many fish. During the whole process, Qi Xuanxuan had been quietly picking up the fish in his hand from Lu Yunqi, with a slight smile on her mouth from time to time. Suddenly, she found out that she had indeed picked up a rare good man, who cooks deliciously, works diligently, can stay in the bustling metropolis, and can be generous in the isolated small mountain village. Especially in these 2 days, seeing the warm harmony between Lu Yunqi and Tang and Guago, her father and daughter, she was extremely happy. After the event, Lu Yunqi also successfully received the rewards of the system and gained master-level piano skills. After merging a lot of piano memories and skills, Lu Yun felt that he and Lang Lang on Earth had a good fight. At dusk, the golden sunlight shone in the valley. After the children took a bath and changed their clothes, they were organized by the teacher to play games together. The children are playing games, and the parents are taking pictures of their babies with their mobile phones nearby. Lu Yunqi also picked up his mobile phone, took a few photos of Tang and Guago, as well as a video. In the video, he looked like a passerby. He also took pictures of Qi Xuanxuan, and then sent it to Zhou Weiying. As soon as the message was sent here, after a while, Zhou Weiying's phone called, "Smelly boy, what's the situation? Is this really my granddaughter?" As soon as the phone was connected, Zhou Weiying hurriedly asked, apparently she liked this granddaughter very much. That's why he had been discussing with Lu Yunqi's father that day. About Lu Yunqi's entry into the family, it was just the old idea of living in the countryside, which made them unable to make a decision for a while. It's like a fake replacement, but whether you can become your granddaughter or not, you have to pay back your and dad's decision. After Lu Yunqi connected the phone, his tone was calm, but the smile on the corner of his mouth did not hide the slightest. Because he knew that since his mother called him, the matter was basically settled. Ooh, you little fool, now your wings are stiff, don't you dare to be dissatisfied with me. When Zhou Weiying heard Lu Yunqi's words, she suddenly roared. How dare I be dissatisfied with my mother, but it's been 2 days, and I haven't seen you reply to a letter, I thought. Fun, is it itchy? You dare to arrange your mom. Before Lu Yunqi finished speaking, Zhou Weiying interrupted him briefly and rudely, and continued. Calling you in the morning, you little fool dare to hang up on my phone, such a beautiful granddaughter, how could I not want your mother? Don't talk nonsense, I'll express the hukou for you in a while, and give the certificate first. Take it, and then find a time to bring it back. Zhou Weiying defended her hard. In fact, she has quarreled with Lu Yunqi's father, Lu Kun, in the past 2 days. From Lu Kun's perspective, she did not want her son to join the family. It's just that when Lu Yunqi posted the photos and videos, Zhou Weiying decided directly when she saw that the twins were granddaughters. Although the girl at the back of the video is not sure if it is her own daughter-in-law, but with such a beautiful granddaughter, the daughter-in-law is definitely not bad. Well, as expected, only mom is the best in the world, and mom knows best. After having a definite answer, Lu Yun smiled and complimented. Smelly boy, is my granddaughter beside me? Call to show me. Zhou Weiying asked expectantly. Lu Yunqi looked at Tang Tang and Guogo, who were doing activities with teachers and classmates, and regretted, Mom, she and she are now participating in school activities. When we go back, the family will show you a video together. Oh, let's hang up first, I'll give you the courier account book. Zhou Weiying hung up the phone with disappointment. Lu Yun shrugged his shoulders, expressing helplessness. It's really inconvenient now. The two little girls are having fun, and it's still a class group activity. Although Qi Xuanxuan next to her stared at Tang Tang and Guogo, she pricked her ears to listen to what Lu Yunqi was saying. Obviously, Lu Yunqi didn't mention her in front of his parents, and he was still somewhat disappointed. What's wrong? Seeing that you are a little lacking in interest, are you tired? Lu Yun hung up the phone, and when he turned around, he looked at Qi Xuanxuan and asked. Qi Xuanxuan shook her head. After dinner in the evening, the school arranged a bonfire party. Everyone sat around the bonfire, and the teacher asked the children to take turns to perform on stage. Tang Tang and Guogo went up excitedly and performed a show by themselves. After stepping down, the parents and children all booed and asked Tang Tang to perform another performance. Tang Tang came to Lu Yunqi first, and milky voice asked, Daddy, do you know how to sing Little Star? When Tang Tang asked, Lu Yunqi quickly looked in his mind. After searching for a while, the corners of his mouth raised slightly and said, No. Then I teach you well. Hurrah! This nursery rhyme was the opening song of a popular variety show at one time, and it became popular all over the country, and of course it was also recorded in the Chinese small music library provided by the system. In this way, Tang Tang pulled Lu Yunqi on stage and sang a Little Star to everyone. I have to say that although there is no perfect singing voice, Lu Yun's handsome face and strong figure still won the applause and eyes of most parents. Guo Guo sat next to Qi Xuanxuan, pouting her mouth and looked very unhappy. Why didn't I take the lead? I can sing this song too. Sitting below Qi Xuanxuan, watching Lu Yunqi, who was holding hands and singing nursery rhymes with her daughter, suddenly realized that this scene was so beautiful and so warm. When Lu Yunqi walked down with Tang Tang, he saw Guogo look unhappy, and took her up to sing again. After singing, Lu Yunqi praised the two baby girls separately, and they sang really well. Ding! Congratulations to the host for getting the title, Sound of Nature. It turns out to be the sound of nature. It seems that this system understands me well. It seems that in the future, there will be another way to make money. Lu Yunqi muttered a few words in his heart. Up to now, he has no doubt about anything given by the system. The system must be exquisite. Because everyone was tired after playing for a day, everyone went to bed early at night. The next day, after everyone had breakfast together, the school organized everyone to go back to Yudu together. After driving for more than 4 hours, I finally returned to Yudu. When I returned to the villa, it was probably because the boats were tired. The two little princesses went to bed after playing for a while when they got home. Qi Xuanxuan is busy with work. Lu Yun picked up the computer and came to the garden when he was about to send the manuscript. Open the assistant backstage and have a look. 99 plus comments, 99 plus rewards, and 99 plus recommended votes. A smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. All of this was in Lu Yunqi's expectation, but he was a little surprised by the reward of 99 plus. Normally, martial arts novels should not be rewarded by so many people. After updating the 5 chapters, Lu Yunqi opened it and took a look. Many of them were rewarded by trumpets of the first and second levels. Almost all 588 book currency reminders are changed, and there are some large rewards of 10,000 book coins. I took out my phone and just opened the Dianwenzu.com app, and a huge screen appeared. It was the Tianlong Babu I just released 2 days ago. It seems that this website is still very sincere. Lu Yunqi muttered softly after watching the opening screen. Strictly speaking, I have not signed a contract with Kedian Literature. For a work that has not been signed, there is definitely not such a big recommendation resource. However, if the editors of other websites know that this book has not been formally signed, it is estimated that they would have asked them to make the conditions. This time, Cultivating Literary Network has taken a dark routine. First, give out the best recommendations, so that those websites will have an illusion and confuse other websites. Let other websites think that Cultivating Literature Network has signed another genius writer. When Lu Yun started to enter the book cover, he saw almost all 5-star praise in the book circle. It's so good. I haven't seen such an interesting martial arts novel for a long time. Yunqi will update it soon. I just said, how come you opened the app today? It is a martial arts novel. It turns out that it is really beautiful, and the writing skills are very deep. Oh, I always see the most critical time, but it's gone. I have already contacted the courier and the blade is already on the way. Such writing, I'm afraid which great god opened the trumpet. Martial arts novels have very high requirements for writing, the author will update it soon. In addition to reminders of the entire book circle, many people have a keen interest in Dugu Yunqi's vest. However, they couldn't imagine that such a sophisticated writing style would have been written by a young man who was only 25 years old. Of course, more people are immersed in the martial arts world of Dragon Babu. The charm of this new style of martial arts, just like the rivers and lakes described in that book, makes people yearn for. For some young people, the development of martial arts novels in this world has been stagnant, making them think that the only martial arts in martial arts novels are Luohan Quan, Mantis Quan, and Bagua legs. When they saw 8 Dragons, they discovered that the martial arts moves in the martial arts novels can be so cool and elegant. For some elderly bookworms, when they saw the 8 parts of the dragon, they were even more tearful. The feeling that used to be is back again. Wonderful, it is really wonderful, flying over the wall, happy and enmity. As a result, Tianlong Ba Bu is like a virus, spreading throughout the Cultivating Literature Network. Lu Yunqi looked at it for a while, satisfactorily turned off the phone, turned on the computer, and started crazy codewords. The other side. As the general manager of Haochen Group, an entertainment company, Ning Nanan is constantly browsing the app of Cultivating Literature Network even on weekends. In it, I carefully selected the works that Haochen Entertainment will shoot next. After all, Haochen Entertainment has not produced a new work for a long time, so this time Ning Nanan must find a work of very good quality and reputation, and it is best to let the company gain both fame and fortune. Call. Ning Nanan, who had been looking at the phone for several hours, felt a little hungry, turned off the phone, got up and got some food. Although she was very anxious, she also understood that she couldn't find a novel with good quality and good reputation in a short while. However, she has recorded several good books in her notebook, and she plans to collect a few more books before selecting them at the end. After eating, when she picked up her phone again and opened the Dianzhuang app, a brand new martial arts style page came into view. The 8 parts of the dragon. After eating, Ning Nanan felt a little better, and when he saw the cover of the book, he wiped his glasses. Now, Kai Dian can actually open up a martial arts novel, which is quite novel. You know, in this world, the last martial arts novel that was launched on the screen was almost 10 years ago. And later, after being reproduced in a TV series, the response was just like that, and there were not many highlights and achievements. Since Kadian is recommended, let's take a look first. Ning Nanan picked up the phone and sat down on the sofa, clicked on the cover of The 8 Parts of Heavenly Dragon, and began to read it. When she opened at 1 o'clock, she actually found that the book's rating, 9.9 points, and nearly 1,000 people participated in the rating. The number of words in the book is only 100,000, but the number of book friends has exceeded 10,000. More importantly, there are more than 50,000 recommended votes in the book, and the number of rewards has more than 2,000. When Ning Nanan saw it, his entire eyes were straight. If you just grade it, it doesn't matter. The main reason is that the book has only been published for 2 days, and this data is already available, which is simply against the sky. With curiosity, Ning Nanan began to look at it. I don't know how long it has passed, but Yudu, which was still shining in the sun, has been covered with neon lights. However, Ning Nanan didn't feel tired at all, until she swiped her finger and a large line appeared on the phone page. The author is working hard in the codeword. She raised her head still inexplicably, and let out a sigh of relief. Then, without any hesitation, he gave a 5-star praise, and he left a reminder message in the book circle. When she wrote the book review and sent it out, she realized that the sky outside was dark. In the world in the book before, she didn't feel tired at all, but when she came out, she immediately felt a little pain in her eyes and sleepiness gradually. 23:30. It's so exciting. No wonder so many people give rewards, so I want to redeem some book coins for a wave of rewards. Ning Nanan couldn't help yawning and muttered softly. Early the next morning, Lu Yunqi sent 2 xiaobaos to school as usual, and continued the code when he got home in the morning. Today, according to the original arrangement, Qi Xuanxuan is going to Haochen Entertainment for a meeting. Star Entertainment Office. Mr. Qi, we have discovered a very good novel in the past 2 days. As long as we can buy it, there is a 90% chance of success. At the beginning of the meeting, Ning Nanan spoke with some emotion. Last night, she was immersed in the martial arts world of Tian Long Ba Bu all night. As long as the book is not hydrographic at the back, it does not even need to be adapted, and it can be taken directly into a TV series, and Ning Nanan is used as an entertainment. The general manager of the company is very sensitive to this aspect. According to the current level of Dragon Babu, the TV series produced will surely become popular and make the company famous. What book? Qi Xuanxuan asked with some curiosity when Ning Nanan, who had always been calm, was so gagged today. A new martial arts book just published on the Cultivating literature website is called The 8 Dragons of the Dragon. The website has given this book an open screen and a banner on the PC side. We have to hurry up, and then there will be more people paying attention to competition. It will be huge. The excitement on Ning Nanan's face did not dissipate, and she spoke. The people in the conference room shook their heads when they heard it was martial arts novels, saying they were not optimistic. In particular, the company's gold medal screenwriter is very unfavorable and said, Mr. Ning, martial arts TV dramas in our country have been indifferent for many years, and there is no market at all, and the current martial arts novels are really bad. Indeed, the current market conditions don't have a strong interest in martial arts TV series. A director with a beer belly and a pigtail also said lightly. In the company, there are only these 2 people who dare to question her in front of Ning Nanan. Although the others are also full of disbelief, no one dares to say. Although Qi Xuanxuan doesn't know much about entertainment, she likes watching martial arts TV series after an hour, but later on, the shots made by major entertainment companies are becoming less and less satisfactory. She has experienced this firsthand, and she is not very optimistic about the company at this time to make a martial arts TV series. His eyes fell on Ning Nanan, waiting for her to continue speaking. Out of Ning Nanan's ability to work, Qi Xuanxuan still took out her mobile phone and began to download the app of Cultivating.com. Facing these people's doubts, Ning Nanan didn't panic at all, stood up and said lightly, as for what you are worried about, you can go and read the book first. You don't need to look at it, just because of the name, I'm sure he won't be popular. Now the market is full of youth idol dramas. How can I compete with others for the market? The man with the braid is the chief director of Haochen Entertainment and a very famous director in the circle, Wang Jexi, Director Wang. In the circle, he has a very sharp vision. As long as the works he produces, almost all works can be popular. Now the company has not had any good works. Not only is the company anxious, he is also anxious as a director. The martial arts market, which has been silent for more than 10 years, wants to use a new book that has just been released to compete for the market. It is simply a dream. Ning Nanan didn't argue with him, just asked everyone to turn on the phone and read the book. At this time, Qi Xuanxuan, who was sitting at the top, had already downloaded the app of Cultivating Literature Network. Sure enough, as soon as I opened the software, I saw a cover with a fairly exquisite workmanship, and the title of the book was Tian Long Ba Bu. But instead of reading the content of the book first, she clicked on the book circle to read the comments of the book friends. When she clicked to open the book circle, it showed that there were already more than 30,000 book friends, and almost all of them were 5-star praise plus reminders. The neat formation makes people suspect that they are looking for Navy. Yunqi is big, update quickly, writing is too sharp, too sophisticated, I feel like I have entered the world of martial arts in the night dreaming, update quickly. Yesterday, I updated 10,000. I stayed up late to read it. When will I update it today? The description of Duan Yuran in the book is really handsome and cool. In which chapter is Chao Feng's 18 palms of Zhonglong used? Qi Xuanxuan's mobile phone screen made her fingers sore, but the reviews in the book circle have not reached the end, and she couldn't find a 4-star rating. Even if the content of the book has not been read, at least the book has a trend of fire, which strongly aroused her curiosity. Is this book suitable for adaptation into a TV series? Qi Xuanxuan asked, raising her head to look at the screenwriter Xia Yingxi. Ah, President Qi, wait a minute, I'll finish reading first. Xia Yingxi replied without lifting her head. She had already found the book when Ningnan Nanbao published the title just now, and she was fascinated by it now. She has a little more admiration on her face. She has been a screenwriter for more than 10 years, and she is also a well-known screenwriter in the circle, otherwise she would not become the gold medal of the Haochen group. At this moment, there are many questions in my mind. Who wrote this book anyway? How can it look good? There is no need to write a screenwriter anymore, just take it over and shoot, even the content of the book is already in place. It's so exciting, you can't pull it out if you get stuck in it. Whether it is the expressions of the characters in the dialogue or the manners of the male and female leaders when they meet, the stories that have occurred in the main and branch lines are handled perfectly and very well. Xia Yingxi asked herself, even if she was a professional editor, she didn't have the strength of this author. At this moment, a strange scene appeared in the meeting room of Haochen Group. The people in the meeting all bowed their heads and held their mobile phones, with different expressions on their faces, but they all talked about them happily. Time slipped away slowly when everyone was immersed in the world of martial arts. 11:30 noon. The assistant pushed open the door of the conference room, originally intending to ask Qi Xuanxuan what to eat for lunch, but the moment she opened the door, the whole person was stupid. Ning Nanan had already stayed up late last night to watch it and hadn't updated it today. He walked to the door and asked in a low voice, Assistant Ji Yu, is there always something wrong with Qi? Mr. Ning, it's 11:30, Mr. Qi should have lunch. Assistant Xiao Ji Yu returned to his senses and replied, I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.